The views and opinions expressed by our show hosts do not necessarily reflect that of Sports Radio Detroit or its sponsors.
Due to, well, us being too awesome on Saturdays, Jamie and I are going to be doing a recorded segment, which is, I think, one of the first times we've ever done this on the road show here on sportsradiodetroit.com. And crbradio.com is Ben, Mike, Nick, and I think Eric are there listening on as we chat away. As yes, this is usually in Twitter chat. We exchange ideas for the show, get everything together, come up with an outline, and kind of throw it out there. But this week, currently as you listening, I will be in Toronto, waiting for Jamie to say a T, make fun of me there.
Yeah, because you're going to be in Toronto while I'm working at my job, being all productive and making money while you're off having fun in Toronto.
Well, if the Tigers are still losing at this point, I'm not sure how much fun. Well, it'll still be blessed because Toronto's awesome. So, who am I kidding?
Yeah, who cares about the Tigers at that point? You're in Toronto.
No, precisely. I will be in Toronto, and it will be the second time up, and I'm looking forward to it. So, but what I want to talk about today was this. So, Jamie brought this idea about Facebook and the marketing and some of the, and it was actually Ben. No, I'm sorry, Ben.
Yeah, that was Ben.
Yeah, Ben brought up the idea of annoying posts and what annoys you the most about Facebook, and this is a topic we did the early road show like 50 or 60 episodes ago about it, but it's been a while, so I want to revisit it a little bit. I'm sure there's a lot of types out there. Jamie and I know a couple people who are this way, and I have a Facebook, but as Jamie knows, I don't post. I've had an album day thing I was tagged on, so I had to post, but I don't really do that anymore. But the Facebook types. Now, Jamie, what are your two Facebook types that annoy you the most?
The direct marketer that you maybe either know really well or you don't really know at all, but every post they make is about what they're selling. Every single thing. That is the quickest way to get blocked and get unfollowed. Just, I'm done. I do actually follow a couple direct marketers that I don't know personally, but it's because they have engaging and informative and fun posts that I like to interact with them on. I don't like the people who are like, hey, buy my stuff because it's amazing, and every post is the same. And it's even worse when they send you a direct message and you ignore the direct message and they keep sending you direct messages, or they add you to their group to sell stuff without even asking you, and all of a sudden all you're seeing are posts about whatever they're selling. Drives me batty. That's number one. And then number two is probably the overly complainer. Like, they complain about everything. The weather's awful, they didn't sleep, they didn't get this, they didn't do that, they're home alone, they're lonely, whatever. And then they have the guts to complain about other people complaining. Those two things, you're done for. Can't follow you on social media. Probably don't want to know you in real life.
Well, I have a question. Are you thriving?
I am definitely not thriving.
Oh, man, that person is, like, there's a couple people out there who, like, there's this one guy who is associated with Cave Radio who talks about how much he's thriving. He shows off pictures of his Cadillac, and it's like, no, you didn't buy a Cadillac because you were selling Thrive. There's no human effing way. No, I don't believe it. I don't buy it for a second.
He could possibly be buying a Cadillac because he talked other people into selling Thrive, and he is making money off of them, because that's really the only way you tend to make money in these direct marketing schemes, is by making other people sell things for you.
It's a Ponzi scheme, but you would think, though, that's a lot. But you think, though, that would be a lot of money, don't you think, Jamie? I mean, a Cadillac's, it's a 50, 60 grand car. I mean, a fully loaded.
Does he own it outright, or is he making payments?
That's fair point. No, fair point. You're right. I mean,
a lot of people like to pretend that they have money and they go and get a big car and they're making payments out the nose because they'd rather look like they're successful than actually have money to spend.
There's these dudes that my son was telling me about that he knows that rent cars over the weekend to pick up girls to impress girls. And I thought that was
that's a pretty impressive business plan there. I like that one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like, what is? I don't want to know. But so passive aggressive Facebook person is one of my pet peeves because I've dealt with this numerous times where people, you ask them about it and they're like, well, it must be guilty conscience. Like, no, you've said certain things that kind of suggest it, but then you don't say it.
Right.
Or the post that I'm in the hospital, ... Oh, what's wrong? Yeah, the vague poster. I think the vague. I don't, Jamie. I don't know about you, but I like to think the passive aggressive one is, well, you know what? They both are terribly horrible equally, but
yeah, they're both kind of attention seeking. No matter how you look at it, either you're being vague so that people will follow up questions and they can talk to you and make you feel better and make you feel like you're important, or you're being passive aggressive because you don't want to talk to the specific person that you're having an issue with. So you're going to make this, again, vague post that could be about many people, and then anybody who calls you out on it, it's, well, maybe you feel guilty. Why do you feel guilty about it?
Yeah, and, both cases are just, it happens on Twitter too, vague tweeting and what have you. But I think vague booking is much worse.
And I will admit, I have been guilty of both. I try very hard not to be vague. I try very hard not to post things that I can't be more specific about. But I have definitely done the passive-aggressive post. I absolutely have done the passive-aggressive post.
Is it because, though, I mean, I think we talked about this before, do you think it's because your temper? Is that why you don't want to just fully go all out, which kind of leads into our next thing? Or is it just because...
I have a temper?
I wasn't suggesting it at all. I was just going by what you were telling me.
Truthfully, probably more because I have that lovely Scottish temper that I have, that I can't keep it in. So I can't not say something because it will drive me insane, but it might be something where it's a family member and you don't want to get the whole family involved, or you know that if you were to actually contact the person, you would go off to such a degree that it would just make things 10 times worse. But I cannot contain myself from saying something. I just can't.
No, I totally get it. I mean, it's hard to. It's sometimes, like I said, there's so many things that you can bottle up and continue from there. So,
right.
The one thing I will say about vague booking, or even the passive aggressive stuff, sometimes it gets really tedious, is the people who like it and they don't have no idea why they liked it.
Right.
So.
They feed into it. The people who feed those, right?
Definitely. The more likes they have about it, it feeds the ego. But here's my question for you then, before we get to the next, which leads your Scottish temper into this next one, which is pretty fascinating because your response to this was pretty eye-raising, if you will. But what is is there any other types of Facebook people? You know what? Oh, you know what I don't like? The people who have the married couple who has a combined Facebook.
Oh, that is 100% always a sign that somebody did something bad. There's never been a married couple or dating couple that has the combined Facebook that isn't because there was some sort of trust issue in that relationship. End of story.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Come on. If you can't have something that's not tied to your spouse, it's because somebody in that relationship doesn't trust the other person.
Oh, you don't think they're just trying to be cute and adorable and tell everybody they fuss or love?
Everybody I've known who's ever had a combined Facebook is because somebody did something they shouldn't have.
Yeah, no, you're right. There is a trust issue there. There's that insecurity factor that plays into it, and I know I was being sarcastic, and I think you caught it. But anyways, no, the trust issue's there. That is definitely the case. It's like who wears the pants, and usually it's the woman in that case, because there's no way in hell a guy would want.
Oh, I actually have a friend who had a combined Facebook for quite a while, who was totally, because she screwed up and he told her she had to take it down or they were combining.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Absolutely. Yep.
Fascinating. So, speaking of what's fascinating is the clever, you learn a lot in this world. You learn a lot about people and their relationships and how people work. Right. Women are smart. Okay, men. Let me just say this, and I know there's a lot of guys who are listening to this beforehand, going, well, how are women so smart? Well, in this case, on a plane, and there's some. I don't. It's take it away, Jamie, because I'm getting some music queued up for this because
Okay.
I'm allowed to paint the setting. Go ahead.
All right. So this couple is flying on a plane, and the guy falls asleep because, long flights, a lot of people sleep. This woman, who is a genius, uses his finger while he is sleeping to unlock his phone and starts going through it. While she's going through it, she discovers that he is cheating on her.
Wow.
And as a result of finding out that he is cheating on her, she goes so ballistic that they have to make an emergency landing because she is that much of a wild card in the air that she is not safe to fly anymore. I get this woman. I do. Because I would be the one that they'd have to land the plane for, too.
All right, well, here's the $1 million question. Was it his actions that based it, or she was just too paranoid? And I'm not asking that to be a dick, but it's just a serious question.
Well, he obviously was actually cheating. So it's probably half a dozen of one and six of the other. I mean, she may have had good reason to believe it, or she may have just had a history of having trust issues that made her predisposed to be snooping. Honestly, I would never have thought to use somebody's finger while they were sleeping to unlock their phone. It would never have crossed my mind. She's really a genius. And before anybody says anything, if you have to snoop through your partner's phone, you probably shouldn't be in a relationship with that person anyways. End of story. If you feel the need to snoop, there's already trust issues, and the relationship is already dead.
No, you're absolutely right. And the thing is, especially if you give somebody your password knowingly on your phone, it doesn't matter. But then there's,
right.
But here's okay. I'll play devil's advocate for a second. So, would it be a big deal if they had let's say you're living together. Let's say a couple's living together. Would that be that big of a deal that they had a password on their phone? Does that make a difference in your eyes, at least?
To me, generally no, because between my family and my friends, we're totally the people that would take your phone and change your background picture and send out texts to your friends, like the whole hacked phone thing.
Right.
We would do that. So my phone is always locked because I don't trust my family members. But I guess it kind of depends. I mean, if their phone is locked and they're never looking at it when they're next to you because they don't want you to see what's on the phone, that's a totally different story.
Okay, so let's say hypothetically speaking, some dude's just chilling with you and he's on his phone the entire time, and then he puts it away and then has his password. So that's different than what you just mentioned, though, right? Correct?
Right. That wouldn't be a big deal.
Okay.
But if, hey, I walk into the room and you hide your phone and there's a password on it, there's a problem there.
All right, and I'm throwing this another. What if the phone is just literally sitting there, you guys are watching the movie, he just doesn't want to be rude or a dick or shallow, and just literally just have the phone right there, but he's not even checking it the whole time?
That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah,
there's many layers to this, Jamie. So
right. But a lot of it has to do with how the whole relationship is. I mean, if it's somebody you're just starting to date, first of all, I don't care what you do with your phone, period. I mean, if it's the first date and you're on your phone the whole time, that's a different story. But if you, we're just starting to date, what you do with your phone is your business. If you have other women you're talking to, that's your business because we're just starting to date. If we've been in a multi-year relationship and you hide your phone when I walk in a room, there's a problem.
Well, that's fair. And the thing about the plane situation, too, is that there's been more stories about people going crazy on planes. Like that woman, I don't know if you heard that woman on Spirit Airlines. Did you hear about this?
You'd have to be more specific. There's so many.
And no, there's this woman who was saying that her brothers are Marines, and she was going off on people. The context of the story just seems a little out there because we live in scary times. We truly live in scary times, and this woman had this I felt like if it was any other color or anything else, she would have been on the ground and tasered in minutes. But I don't. I'm not saying that because but you know what I mean? Like, if it was any other skin color, I think it would be a little different.
Right. But I think that part of what happens is a lot of people, even if they're not afraid to fly, are apprehensive about being in the air for different reasons, whether it's claustrophobia or too many people in an area or whatever. So I think people self-medicate a lot, and I think that definitely contributes to people going a little bit loopy on planes. But I'm telling you, if I found out you're cheating on me on a plane, I'm probably breaking stuff, so they're probably going to put me on the ground.
So so it doesn't matter. So even like you wouldn't be able to contain yourself whatsoever, even despite the fact that here you are in a tube, literally a tube that is traveling at 40,000 miles above sea level, or in the clouds, where you have people. Again, also to keep this in fact, because I'm a germaphobe. You got sick people. You got some idiot who's got the flu who's gonna sit next to you, or someone with their bare feet because they don't know any better. There's a lot of factors that play in it.
If I find out you cheated on me and the guy next to me has a flu, I'm totally going to take something and dip it into that guy's mouth and put it here because you cheated on me. I'm not going to let you sleep another second longer because you don't deserve to sleep because you cheated on me. Your phone is definitely going to be broken, 100%. And here's the thing, like, you thought maybe I would punch somebody, but I'm not physically violent, but I am a destroyer.
No, I
will destroy things. I will throw things.
I firmly believe that, just based off what you've told us here on the road show and offline a little bit, but just I get it. I mean, if it's in a marriage like that, if you're married and you're like, just come on, like, dude, at that point, just keep your phone unlocked. You know what I mean? Like, just yeah. So but I guess like I said, I don't judge because I don't know and I don't know those people, but still, no, you're right. That if it was the shoe standing on the foot, I honestly, you know what? I've never looked through anybody's phone I've ever dated. Nobody. Just because like it's either not today. Maybe that sounds really callous to say. I just don't care. But it's just like also at the same time, there's also other things I could look at and come to the same conclusion. You know what I mean?
There's always there's that old adage about when you go looking for something, you'll find something. So if you're looking to find that somebody's cheating, you can come across something that will convince you that they're cheating, whether it's true or not.
Right. Kind of a mind over or the placebo effect, if you will, because just you believe it so much it comes true, kind of thing.
Right. And then if you think they're cheating, they probably are. Maybe not full blown, actually having sex with somebody else cheating, but an emotionally cheating kind of relationship where they're really super close to somebody else, or just something like that where it wouldn't be something that they know that their partner would be comfortable with, so they're hiding it. If you feel like that is going on, 99% of the time it probably is, unless you're just a really paranoid person.
I've met some paranoid people in my lifetime too. So this is the last thing to wrap it up, Jamie. We're in right now. Okay, so I know you're a Lions fan. You're in right now. Training camp's about 3 weeks away. About 3 weeks away.
Yes.
So I know you're excited.
Long weeks.
Well, so I know you're a big sports person. So right now, with this lull that's occurring right now, Supernatural's over. That's your favorite show. That's Jamie's favorite show. So TV's
Game of Thrones isn't on for like another year.
I was gonna say Game of Thrones isn't on for another year. So what are you doing right now? I mean, right now there's no ravens in the sky because it's summer and so, and also I know one of Jamie's favorite things too, and we've talked about this before on the road show, is that Jamie also likes to do photography. So right now at this time of year, is it hard to do photography in this weather? And also, adding that question is, what the hell are you doing right now with? You're not a big NBA person, right? So you're not. You really don't give a shit where LeBron James is going to fall, because honestly, it's going to, it doesn't matter to you either way. But with this,
I would so prefer it with Mars, but that's not going to happen. So.
So, are you watching CFL? What are you trying to do to get your sports fix right now?
I do watch some CFL, go Rough Riders.
Oh.
I am a big Bravo-holic, so I do spend a lot of time watching The Real Housewives of Wherever.
I forgot about that, yeah.
And Southern Charm.
Are you watching The Bachelor?
No. Oh. No, God, no. Oh, God, no. That show is the downfall of Western civilization.
I don't know. I like to think that Big Brother is a pretty close second. That show's terrible. I don't
like that show either.
I've never understood the appeal.
I used to watch it. I have a theory about reality TV. Once you watch the first episode, you're sucked in, if it's done right.
If it's done right. You
have to see how it all plays out. But
I would agree with that.
Avoid those ones.
I agree with that, because even I think shows like there's one show that kind of gets us sucked in, and that's a show called Botched. That's watching this house, and that's
I watched that one.
Yeah, that's something that like as soon as I get home, it's on, and then she'll look at me and she's like, "Oh, I'm about to." She's like, "No, I'm watching this." I'm like, "Oh man, I don't want." And then you're like, "Oh man, his lips."
Right?
Yeah, his lips are like they had one dude on there where his he was trying to get for fuller lips. I'm like, dude, how much fuller do you want your lips? They literally look like an anus right now, and it's disgusting.
Right. Yeah. No. I do watch Forged in Fire is another really good one where they make swords and knives.
Oh, I was watching that
Right into
before.
that.
That is a sweet show. Good call on that one. That is something that I learned so much terminology too, like in terms of how they make the blade and how much of a like delicate process it is. But
I want to go get a forge and start making my own blades. It's an amazing show.
they had a girl who was on from Wyandotte from this area. That I remember she had a forging thing out in her backyard, and the weapons test is my favorite too because you see like what's good craftsmanship or what's shoddy or not even shoddy.
Right.
It's just they have only limited time, so they have to figure out how to approach it. It's always like an old dude. There's always a young guy, and then they got an up and comer, which it could be a male or female. But I do like when I see females on there because just the reason why is only because a lot of these reality shows sometimes are the same. They're like the girl, it's like the pretty girl reality show, or there's always like certain types. But with that show, it doesn't matter. Like you can be fat, skinny, it doesn't matter.
They had the guy on there that came in and he was like dressed in his Renaissance garb and he had his long hair and he had the braids on the side. He was pretty legit. Like he did not win, but it was fun to watch him because he was right in character the whole way.
I thought that guy honestly was something that literally Renaissance Festival here in Michigan for you folks out of state. He walked into that. He probably maybe he does it at Renaissance Fair. Who knows? What do you think? He gets paid?
He
like
very well might. He may travel from Renaissance Fair to Renaissance Fair because most of them do.
I wonder if they get insurance. I wonder what their insurance package looks like.
I'm sure it's insane.
Matching 401k for any freak accidents.
The Renaissance people tend to be very nomadish in their behavior, and it's probably not surprising, but if you know people from Holly that actually live in Holly and know about the area, theft goes up alarmingly in the area when the Renaissance Festival is in town.
Oh man, did they? You said theft, right? Is that what you said?
Theft.
Yeah,
theft, like stealing and that sort of thing.
I was gonna say, you know, does it sound like to me that you're literally describing medieval times, like they're stealing from the rich just to get by.
Right. Like they just walk into the local town and they're walking through the store and they just sort of five-finger discount things because they're harder to find, they're harder to track down, and they're kind of like a little band of merry men in the woods that they're not going to rat each other out because it's just they travel from state to state together. And
it's the code of the law. It's the code of the code of the forest.
Yes. So there's a definite contingent against them in the Holly area because they are considered riffraff.
Yeah, the more you know. Wow, I did not know that. So got this riffraff out of here, and I'm sure the town is pleased when they're gone because every time I've only gone to the Renaissance Festival 3 times, and every time I've went, it looks like just the amount of litter or people. I'll just, like this is, we should save this for next time you come on in terms of how people treat their bathrooms publicly or,
right.
Which is utterly ridiculous, but the garbage is constantly overflowing and the grounds look like they just look trampled. Yeah.
But it's a big, volunteer thing for school area kids too. Area kids, they volunteer to help in the kitchens, they volunteer to clean up the grounds and stuff, and it gets their volunteer hours.
Do they make any money off of it?
Yes, I know the Holly Band does a lot of stuff in the, like they run one of the food areas, and they make money from that.
Well, there you go. So Jamie, by the way, you can find Jamie at Jamie M. Taggart. Let me see your Twitter.
Yeah.
Go ahead and tell me where the Twitter at.
Yeah, it's at Jamie McTaggart. Really hard to figure out. And I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram under Jamie Jo from Kokomo.
Yeah, there we go.
That's really about it.
I thought you were going to say something. You kind of hung it up there like you were going to say something else.
I was trying to think if there was anything else. There really isn't.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, you know what? Find us on Twitter at Sports Radio DET and listen to the rest of the show.
Good morning. It is Saturday. It is hotter than hell. My God. We live.
Is it?
I was going to say we apparently live in South Texas, not Michigan. But welcome to the SRD Roadshow live on CRB Radio, live on Facebook Live. Hello, people.
Hey.
Also on SportsRadioDetroit.com. If you are on iTunes, Google Play, anywhere podcasts are found, you can find us there. Like us, leave a review. We appreciate anything that you have to offer. Also, if you leave a comment on Facebook Live, we will get to it. Today on the show, we are going to talk about Bosio's situation, or, well, former now pitching coach Chris Bosio, and what he said, what led with rampant speculation from a couple of places. Probably talk a little bit NBA free agency, because why not? That's going to be starting. And, of course, though, we have the Ramble.
That's true, too.
Do we have the drop for the Ramble, or do we have to make it up this week?
I think we're going to have to make it up this weekend. So who's ready to do it? Ready?
You just killed Facebook Live. What are you doing?
We're still here. Hi, guys. Just give us a few moments here. Hold on.
Eric's killing the camera. But while he does that, Eric's running the board. On the phone, you have Mike Papchek, who would love to be here, but unfortunate circumstances say otherwise. We have Nick. Nick hasn't.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Pap. What's up?
Oh, no, I was just going to say, I don't know how hot it is today, but trust me, when I was changing that tire, I found out how hot it was yesterday. Trust me.
Were you changing it on asphalt or just normal concrete?
I literally pulled off the highway because it happened while I was driving on the highway, and I just pulled out on Big Beaver.
Oh, man.
Big Beaver is not the road
So,
to be doing that, man.
Yeah, oh, my God.
It's too busy, too many cars. Nobody looks out for people.
Oh, you got to do what you got to do. But, yeah, no, it's bad. Jonathan Knight says hello on Facebook. We say hello back. Jonathan, thank you so much for listening, as you do every week. But, yeah, we always start the show with the Ramble. We don't have the drop, which is fine. But, yeah, who's going to do it?
All right now.
That's good.
That was pretty good. I'm not going to lie.
I've heard the song for like 10 years, so I bet
That
I have
was
it down packed.
that was pretty darn good. I'm going to kind of throw a curveball with the Ramble very first starting out, because yesterday was the last day in existence for Toys R Us.
Yes.
Yep.
Like that to me is heartbreaking. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I mean, granted, anything Dave Brandon touches dies.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up.
I was going
Domino's,
to say Domino's Pizza, Michigan football.
Domino's is still up and running, though, isn't it? Or
yeah,
is it a different ownership now?
They've rebounded. The new CEO has taken Domino's international, and apparently that's working. So good for Domino's.
I saw the new thing that they're doing, the Domino's hotspot. So it's like if you can't find the address, I'll just meet you on the corner.
Wait, they do that?
Yeah, you haven't seen those commercials yet?
Yeah.
No, what? Okay, so we're gonna little veer off the
This is
side
our
of the
ramble.
road. Yeah, this is
our
why it's the
ramble.
Ramble. Okay, so you could tell your Domino's delivery guy, hey, meet me on the corner of, I don't know, like Main Street and Center Street, and he'll meet you there instead of an address?
As long as there's this little hotspot area that they have, so they'll have a map. So let's say you're like a college. Let's say you're like a college kid and you live in the dorms, and this guy's driving around. I can't find your dorm. Da, da, da. You know what, bro? And literally the way how the map works is, okay, meet me here in like 3 minutes. I'll be outside waiting for you.
Wow,
That's crazy.
that seems like a bad idea.
It seems good. But
It kind of does.
Like,
it sounded good when I first heard it.
A lot can go wrong.
well, exactly. A lot could go wrong. It could be. I mean, granted, yes. I mean, if you deliver to like a house, that a lot can go wrong there too. But randomly meeting someone on a corner, That's
Well, yeah, when you say it, like when you put it in that
That,
perspective,
that sounds like a police action waiting to happen.
well, yeah. It sounds like a sting. Like someone's like, "Hey, let's order." Could you imagine if like two cops were like on a stakeout and just be like, "Hey, you hungry for some pizza?" Yeah. Okay, let's go to the spot. Let's get the pizza. We'll come right back. Nothing will happen. It'll be fine. I did not
promise.
know that. That is
yeah, it's been all over TV as of lately.
well. I know their paving campaign's been all over TV.
That I think is the most outrageous part. Like, really, Domino's is going to pay to have the roads fixed. If
Hey.
that's the case, hey, Domino's, come to Michigan where our roads are jacked. We need it.
Domino's has to do it because nobody else will do it.
That is true.
Have you seen the Whitmer commercials for "I'm going to fix the damn roads"? Seriously?
I mean, someone has to.
Well, someone has to. My
Guys,
4-year-old is now
use-
saying about that.
Go ahead.
Use pot to fix the potholes. The answer is in the name. I just don't understand. It's so obvious.
I mean, that's 100%.
That's a valid point. I'll give you that one.
That is 100% correct. But going back with Toys R Us, though, I mean,
I worked there for 3.5 years.
3.5 years.
in
Okay.
college. The first time.
Okay.
First time.
Well, come on, I'm back to college. So.
Okay, that's yeah.
Hey,
I'll give you that one.
that is completely fair. What did you do at Toys R Us? Were you a stock guy,
I
cashier?
was stock at first, and then when I got rid of Eastern and went to Schoolcraft, I went to be a cashier. And you do not want to be a cashier
At Toys R Us?
Christmas time.
Oh, no.
It is nuts. People are throwing elbows. People were throwing fists. People were shoving people out of the way. Little kids were getting run over. It was horrible. But come on.
But see, like, you got to see that. See, from my perspective, all the retail stores I worked at, nobody ever went that crazy. So I hear that craziness, and I'm just like, I missed that. I don't know. Like, I'd like to have been able to see it once, seeing just these parents fight over things like children. Like, you're never going to see some of these people act that way on any other day of the year, you know?
I have a
You're
question.
seeing some of these people's true colors.
Okay, I have an issue with that only because I have little people now, and I don't like Elmo for that reason.
I was gonna. That was my question.
Elmo-
Did you see? Were you there for that?
Elmo getting shredded in the tree trimmer was the best day of my life.
Oh my
So
god!
wait, were you there when the Tickle Me Elmo came out and like it
That
was a
one
big-
and the Furbies.
Oh my god!
I hated those things. And we only got like 15 of them at a time, and you have people lining up, 3 hours before we actually open. You're walking through people like,
Oh,
hey, I'll
my
give you $20
goodness.
to get me a Furby. Really? And you get the Hot
But
Wheels people.
make it 100, it's a deal.
Right.
I mean-
Because wasn't a Furby going for like $10-15 anyway? So you're only making $5
It was
profit?
$20 at the beginning, but it was the idea that you had the people who were Hot Wheels collectors who were like bribing people from the stock room as they were opening stuff where they could look in the boxes first, or the Star Wars collectibles, stuff like that too. Any collectible,
Oh my
people
goodness.
were basically browbeating people and paying people off to get first access to it.
That does not surprise me.
I feel like Roger would appreciate this in all honesty. Because again, Roger being like the big Transformer collector that we talked about a few weeks ago when
Yes.
you first started.
Well,
I
come
feel like
on.
Roger would appreciate this conversation.
And of
right
course,
now.
Roger's not here because he wants to stop the 10-game losing streak the Tigers have. We'll get into that later. He's going to try to personally stop it. He's going up to Toronto to make sure he can make it end.
Is
But
he going to take a ball to the face for the team?
I think he would.
I know Roger would. I just don't want to see him come back with like a big old like welt on his forehead.
I kind of do now. If he doesn't,
Yeah, I was like, I kind of do.
yeah,
Man.
right. I want to
You
hear
guys
a
are
story.
savage.
I want to hear
It's
a
called
story.
Team Spirit.
Yes, Roger, how'd you get that black eye? Well,
See, what happened was I was out on assignment.
got one high and tight.
Well, see,
leaned
Victor.
in.
Trying to get that.
Victor's knee finally gave out. They needed a replacement. I was the only guy.
I would pay to see Roger
See
run
it?
the baseball.
I
run
would
the
pay
baseball match.
Roger to race Victor Martinez to first base.
Jeez.
I wonder.
Oh my God, that
That sounds like an
Great idea.
assignment thing. Can
That-
we do that?
That if we can find a way, if we can generate that content, we'll see if we can have a 90-foot race. Actually, you know what? No, we'll make it. We'll call it the leg out double. They have to run to second. And
I'm out, coach.
And
I'm out.
whoever leg gives out first wins.
that would, yeah, that'll work. But
In that case, you might as well just put me and Roger in a race together. See which big guy can make it to the field first.
Roger's sneaky fast, though. I think
Y'all ain't seen me run.
that's true. We've never
I
seen you
can,
run.
I can do it.
We've never seen you run. But okay, so we got Phillips' kind of memory of Toys R Us. Nick, do you have any memories of Toys R Us, even when you were a kid, bright-eyed, blue-eyed kid, looking at like a Power Rangers toy or something that you have a memory of, or is it just gone to the dodo and you don't care because you've grown up and you're not a Toys R Us kid anymore.
You know what? I was never really a toy guy. I was
Okay.
always like a building, like blocks kind of.
Okay.
Like building.
That works.
Stuff kind of guy. Played a lot of video games when I was younger.
Yes.
So
Nothing wrong with that.
obviously, Toys R Us, big staple of a lot of people's childhoods. Unfortunately, just not mine.
Hey, no, that's fair. See, with me, I'm glad you mentioned the whole video game thing because that's the only thing I'm going to remember about Toys R Us was way back when they had the stupid like game cage at the front of the store, and you had to go and you had to get the yellow slip. You had to get the yellow slip of whatever game you wanted, and if they didn't have yellow slips, that means they didn't have a copy of the game.
I never got games from Toys R Us. I was literally at Toys R Us for the toys. Back when I was a kid.
I mean, that's fair.
I
But-
used to be really big into hacky sack.
Okay.
So that would probably be one of the things that I did buy at Toys R Us.
Okay, the thing about Toys R Us is this. I also worked there in the video game department at Dearborn
So
Heights.
you were a cage guy?
I was a cage guy. I
Nice.
worked in the video age area, and they put out enough for, how many games they had, but sometimes they would fluff, and they'd get in trouble for it.
What?
Because they didn't want to be out of stock. So they would have, like, one extra ticket, and then people would be like, go put that ticket back. We don't have that game right now. Well, why do you have the ticket? Because we have to make sure we are not out of stock. We don't want manager to go and yell at us. And another fun story. Eric will love this one.
Oh boy.
I was a kid.
Uh-oh.
My mom worked at Toys R Us in Novi for many years. Okay?
That's when I've frequented a lot.
Okay. She also worked at Southfield for a while. At Southfield, when I was a kid, my brother and I got to dress up as costume characters.
Oh boy.
When they had the Baby G's and Jeffrey and his family come, I got to dress up as a character for a weekend.
What character?
So you were a baby giraffe?
I was a baby giraffe.
That's adorable.
I was a baby giraffe. It was...
See, Philip has all the good stories about Toys
Well,
R Us.
Philip's got
an
a
insider.
family inheritance of Toys R Us. His
Hey,
mom
I'm a
worked
retail
there.
brat. That's what happens.
Nothing wrong with that. Eric, do you have any memories of it?
I mean, other than my mom chasing me down an aisle one time to beat, to grab, to like find me. That was about it. I mean,
So you broke away from your mom and
yeah, and at that point in time in the early '90s, you couldn't leave,
saw a Batman toy you want. She's like, no, and you're like, no, I'm gonna get it.
Yeah, pretty much. and then there was the shoe, back when discipline was allowed in public,
There you go. What about you, Pap? Any memories?
Actually, I didn't think I did, but something just came back to me. I remember almost getting trapped in a Toys R Us once. I don't know how familiar you guys are with Waterford, but back when Summit Place was, up and thriving, God, this would have been 20 years ago. Okay. I remember being a child, and I remember having, there was 5 or 6 other children. God bless my mother for doing this. She was taking all of us to Toys R Us, but I remember the weather was kind of iffy. It kind of looked like crap out.
Yeah.
So she's panicking this whole drive to Toys R Us, and she's got 5, 6 really, really loud, obnoxious kids in her back seat. And I remember getting there, and the sky is just pitch black.
Uh-oh.
And I can't imagine why my mom is still telling us kids to, go into Toys R Us and get something. I don't remember why we were there or anything. But she's trying to hurry us up all to get out of the store. And, it's Toys R Us. Half the stuff's open, so you could mess around with it. Or at least, I remember at least a couple Lego sets just laying around. And that was my big thing as a kid. I had thousands of Legos. So we're all back there. My mom, I just remember this. She starts crying because it's so dark, and apparently there's tornado warnings and stuff.
Oh, jeez.
And the workers were considering closing the doors and not letting anybody leave in terms of safety.
It would have been
So we finally got out of there. And on the way back, it turned out to be a little overblown, but my mom used to play this joke where she'd turn off the defrosters and the window would start fogging up, and she'd be like, all right, guys, you got to stop breathing or else we're all going to die. So nobody else take a breath, all right?
That's a sick joke.
That's cold-blooded.
Well, 5 of the 6 children got the joke and thought it was funny, but the 6th one didn't get the message, and I just remember that night ended. She started crying and panicking because she thought that by us all breathing in the car that we were going to die. So,
wow.
Was this at the Novi Toys R Us or no? Because I remember one of those nights.
It was Waterford. It would have been probably 20 years ago, but it was at the Summit Place one.
Were you one of those kids that used to take the bikes off the rack, ride them around the store, and try to run into each other?
I always wanted to be that kid.
Oh my God.
Yes, I was definitely one of those kids. Absolutely.
Those were always the fun kids that you always had the employees walking around like my mom who were like, "Get off that bike. You're not supposed to be on that bike. You're going to hurt yourself."
Oh my God.
It was hilarious.
I got my first bike from Toys R Us because, I tested it out at the store, loved it, and got it. And, yeah. I mean, a lot of firsts for me came at Toys R Us, but I don't know.
Ooh.
I was saying I'm a little
Not
scared
like
now.
that,
I was
Pap.
going to say I was a little scared.
Pap, not like that.
You beat me to the ooh.
All right, man.
You just left it out like there was a lot of firsts at Toys R Us. And then
Well, yeah, because you're a kid.
One time in the back stock.
I was going to say, yes, it's a toy store, but not that type of toy store. Jesus.
Hey, I mean,
come on. My goodness gracious,
That's,
gentlemen.
Hey, listen, that's the one thing about going into stores. You can sneak things into stores. So I mean,
Could you imagine if you did sneak something like that into one of the toy aisles, like next to like a Barbie or something? Be like, oh, there's Dreamhouse Barbie and there's Get Off Barbie. That's weird. That's kind of jacked up.
hey, that's not the real Stretch Armstrong.
Oh
A
God,
really, really, really weird looking sword.
Mom, look what I found. Oh my God, where'd you find that?
Where's Roger when you actually need him?
Oh
come
my
on.
goodness.
Have you guys seen that joke? It was a little cartoon joke that was going around on the internet for a while. A little kid comes out, mom's having like a house party or like a true romance party, right? And this little kid comes out, and little kid's got one of those things on his head, and the kid comes out and goes, "Hey, mommy, look at me, I'm a rhino." And the mom
That's
freaks
bad.
out.
One of
The
those
mom
things
freaks
is?
out.
I've got one better than that.
Go for it.
Oh my
My
God.
first wife, she had a bachelorette party.
Oh dear
And
goodness.
they got her all kinds of male paraphernalia. Even a hat that had a dick coming out of it, right?
Of course.
So I'm laying on the couch sick. I'm never sick, okay? My daughter is probably 4 or 5, maybe. I come off that couch as fast as I can. Daddy, look at this. I've got a nice new hat. Look what I found.
Oh.
She left it out and hadn't put it
Dear
away,
God.
and my daughter found it and was wearing it around the house. It was hilarious after the fact.
Yeah,
Dear
after the fact, at that point in time, you're like, run, get the kid.
Maria, look what you doing. Oh my God. No, but my goodness, man.
Life experience, man.
Hey, it happens.
It sounds like, Philip, you've lived a lot.
Not as much as I should have, but yes.
Okay.
I'm very sheltered in a lot of areas, but for some reason, bad things follow me.
Hey, no, but that happens. Jonathan Knight, when we were talking about Domino's in the first part of the ramble, makes a good point. He says it's supposed to help during football games. I worked for Domino's, and it was very hard to deliver to certain areas. So
There's a lot of
I guess
companies-
that's a practical thing. I don't know. I still like the
Tons
whole.
of bad scenarios
yeah.
can play out,
Like,
but I guess
my mind goes to the worst spot. Like,
No, and that's a great concern.
and it just seems like a drug deal. Like, I'm sorry. Like, not that there's anything wrong with that. We've all partake probably in drug deals before, in some way, shape, or form.
Well,
but
Phil shakes his head.
Right, but this one has a giant Domino's logo on the top of the car, so it's
Hey.
a little harder to just ignore.
The Domino's man
Oh, my
may
goodness.
want a cut of something.
That's a very interesting choice of words.
I mean, you could ask for extra oregano on your pizza. That could be code for something at certain locations.
I mean, it's possible.
The Bob Marley Extra Crispy.
Yes, there you go. Yeah, you call up your local Domino's. I'd like the Bob Marley special, please. So that's 3 large pizzas and yep. Okay.
Art Van and Gardner White do not deliver to Ann Arbor or any of the surrounding area on game days.
I wouldn't either.
I wouldn't.
Ann Arbor on game days suck.
It's terrible.
You have to go the back ways in to even get even near the stadium.
Yeah, it sucks.
We walk at least a mile.
So for those trying to get furniture out in the Ann Arbor area, do it before football season starts.
Well, yeah. I mean,
We got one guy.
Go ahead.
We got one guy that wants to go nowhere near Ann Arbor because the way the coaches were talking to him. Did you guys see that?
No.
Yes.
It's like my
Devontae
favorite
Dobbs.
story from yesterday.
Gotcha.
Yeah, no, we could talk about it because I don't know. Like, to me, I don't think it's that big of a story, but it's definitely interesting. Do not get me wrong; it is interesting as all get out. But
Oh yeah.
I mean,
I'm not trying to say this is like huge. I mean, he is a 5-star guy, so I think that what he says pulls maybe a little bit more weight, I guess.
Yeah.
And yeah. I don't know. I've got the article up here. If I just want to read kind of what he said, because it's ridiculous. They literally asked him straight up on this ESPN 100.9 show.
10-9.
They asked him why not Michigan. 10-9.
Yep.
And it felt like Michigan thought they were superior and the big boss to Michigan State. They thought, you have an offer from Michigan, so you should be going to Michigan since you have the offer. It was as if they didn't need to recruit me or better their relationship with me. This was the first thing they did wrong. And then he just goes on from there. But is Michigan really recruiting 5-star recruits that way? That blows my mind.
Well, that's the thing. I don't think they are.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's fair.
There's a saying that, the best players in Michigan go to Michigan. I mean, there's that. So they probably pulled that line on them. And I've spoken with Devontae. I mean, he's a nice kid. I mean, he is. He's still a kid. I mean, any kid in high school is still a kid. But I mean, I don't know. The one that kind of threw me off guard was like, yeah, the coaches were robots. Like, okay, like what does that mean? Like, how do you not ask that follow up? But I know a lot of people are always like, well, Belleville doesn't want to send kids to Michigan and blah blah blah. Well, Michigan's really high up on a tight end from Belleville. They got a commitment from a corner from Belleville. But yeah, no, it was definitely interesting, his reaction and fallout of why he chose Michigan State. But here's the thing that at least I thought was interesting, was that Michigan, USC, and I think another quote-unquote blue blood program did not recruit this kid. Like, they kind of dropped off after they kind of started to get to know him. So, I mean, it's a great get. Go ahead.
I think he had another offer from Bama, or it was either Bama or Auburn, I think is who you're talking about. He had an offer from one of the two, but continue.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I don't know. It's a great get for Mark D'Antonio. I mean, let's not give Michigan State their due. They landed one of the top in-state kids in Devontae Dobbs. He's going to help their offensive line. He's a 5-star kid, which any program, whether you like it or not, you want 5 stars on your roster. Granted, yes, recruiting rankings don't mean everything, but still, you can kind of puff out your chest and say, yeah, we got a 5-star kid over these programs. And I mean, it's something that we've talked about sparingly on the road show. It's, you can dislike Mark D'Antonio for his personality, but what he's done at Michigan State with the winning, how he wins, beating Ohio State, beating Michigan, getting some of these big wins in recruiting battles, it's impressive and good for Michigan State
for sure.
And they've had a good week too. They've landed 5 people this week.
Yeah, they did. They had their own little commitment palooza like Michigan had last week. State had this week of doing the same. They had Trey Mosley from West Bloomfield, wide receiver. He's pretty talented. He just announced yesterday he's going to State. But, Pap, it sounded like you had something else to say.
Well, I just for me, you brought up how people may not like Mark D'Antonio, and this just made me think of an entire new, recruiting style. It's like, do you really play up the rivalries like that? Like, do you think Mark D'Antonio was just picking at that relationship from the beginning or something? Like, I don't know. This just kind of made me think of that, coaches will really, and I'm not trying to say that D'Antonio did something, so that's not necessarily what I'm saying, but I'm just saying that because, comments like this come out, I'm just wondering throughout the entire country, I bet you coaches do use the rivalries to recruit players. I guess it's not something I ever really considered, It's like,
I don't see
Michigan, they think they're big stuff. Well, here we're actually like a family. I feel like that's something you could use, and I know, you got to take everything a kid says with a grain of salt because he just picked MSU over Michigan. Of course, he's got to, at least act a little salty towards Michigan. It's the whole thing in this state. But, I don't know. I just think that sometimes it's amazing that we don't think about the kinds of stuff that goes around in recruiting. Even not considering all the illegal stuff with all the payment going on. I just mean I'd love to hear the strangest things that coaches have said to get a recruit into their door. Look at Quinn Nordine. Jim Harbaugh spent the night there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He gets the most. Maybe he gets the biggest spotlight, but I'm sure that man, I wish I would have been a little more prepared. I bet you there's a ton of like coaching stories that these coaches have had to do some strange stuff to get some recruits in, you know?
I don't know.
Well, I guarantee, Nick, what are your thoughts on it? I know you had a couple.
He could pretty much. Harbaugh rubs people the wrong way sometimes.
Yeah, he does.
And
Totally.
it's just his personality. It's who he is. He's went from the pros.
Yeah.
Went from the college to the pros, back to college, right? He just rubs people the wrong way. Him and his brother both. I'd like his brother a little better, personally. D'Antoni, you can't beat his record.
No, that's the one thing that he can do when
He coaches up.
he does.
Period.
He does. No, he does. I mean, granted, sometimes he makes questionable decisions with his roster, but who doesn't? But like I said, that's where you don't have to like him personally, but the results on the field do speak for themselves. And yeah, I mean, that's another thing too with like a recruiting battle with Michigan and Michigan State. Mark D'Antonio has the one thing, and so does obviously Urban Meyer. But if anyone in state's like, hey, should I go to Michigan? You can be like, well, Jim Harbaugh was supposed to be the savior of the program, and I'm 2-1 against him. So I don't know. Do you want to go there? Do you want to come here? Do you want to keep beating Michigan? Do you want to lose to Michigan State? It's your call.
Well, I mean, as far as the whole recruiting thing goes, I mean, I don't see why a coach would not throw in that whole the whole rivalry aspect.
You would have to.
Yeah, it's like recruitment 101 in all honesty. Like you have to add.
Well, no, because
go ahead.
you get guys to come to their school that aren't necessarily like
just off the prestige
they
of the
aren't.
school.
Yeah, you don't have to sell a rivalry to a lot of these guys because to a lot of these high chip guys, I think they're worried about the football part. So I guess like it's something that you can't really go to every time, especially you got guys that grow up in Michigan families going to Michigan State and the other way around. I mean, I just feel like I don't know, rivalries are odd because realistically, aren't coaches the ones that always try? I mean, I guess this is a huge difference between D'Antonio and Harbaugh. Michigan kind of treats it as one more game as opposed to Michigan State treats it a little more, at least outwardly. That's how they both express it.
Oh yeah.
So
no. I mean, Michigan.
So I'm sure that Harbaugh uses the rivalries a little differently than D'Antonio. Sorry.
Well, no, yeah, and I mean you're right, but I mean we all know because they don't make it a secret. Michigan State has the Michigan game as their quote unquote Super Bowl. They could go literally 1-11. And as long as that one is a win against Michigan, it's a winning season.
Right.
So, I mean, and that's how you do. I mean, that's how you measure the program. It's not bad. We have Chris Platty here joining us for the, third straight week?
Yeah.
Is this 3 weeks now?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, okay. So he's
a big deal.
It is. Because
it's shocking.
No, it's not. It's not shocking. It's great. It's great to have him, obviously.
I meant it in a good way.
Yeah, I know. I'm glad to be here.
So what are your thoughts on the Devontae Dobbs I guess saga, if you want to call it that, or do you not have an opinion on it?
I really don't have an opinion on it. But I wanted to kind of speak on to touch up kind of where we are, which is the whole rivalry aspect. And I think Mike is right. I think that it plays a factor in some cases, but not all. I think it's a good idea to play into rival because it gives the player like those players who aren't 5-star. Who aren't 5-stars, who aren't looking at just the football, it gives them kind of a purpose.
Sure.
And
plus, I mean, I could tell, bringing up the rivalry for like an in-state recruiting battle.
Yeah.
Which clearly
that's where I think it matters most.
Yeah. And
is those situations.
Go ahead, Pat.
I really don't mean to break the stride here. Something in real time just happened, and oh my goodness, I cannot believe what just happened.
What's going on?
So, as you guys know, I'm on my phone.
Uh-huh.
I just received a phone call from my father.
Okay.
Him and my mother currently on a cruise, or they were on an overnight cruise last night. They're on vacation in Florida. And all I heard on the end of the line was some squeaky beds.
Oh God!
Oh no!
Some heavy breathing.
Oh no!
And that's all I heard before I went back, guys. I'm struggling. I'm trying to calm myself down.
Oh my God.
I think that really just happened.
Order at the
Wow.
spot.
Oh
my God!
This really happened in real time on the show. I'm kind of freaking out, guys. I might need to take a minute.
Go
No, I was
for
gonna
it.
say go ahead, take a couple of minutes. But my goodness,
You know what's
Hey,
fun-
you know what? At the positive side, though, Pat, your parents still love each other after all these years.
Oh yes,
There you
thanks,
go.
Ben. Appreciate it.
I mean, it sucks you had to because Pap, you're what, 26?
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Okay, so I'm sorry you had to walk in on your parents like that, but
Hey,
I'm not even. They're 1,000 miles away, man. This is not fair.
hey, just think of it this way: your dad won an away game.
oh god, that's
I might hang up. Oh man. Oh,
Yes.
oh my god. You know what, Pap? Take a few minutes, and if you need to mute the phone, that's okay. You can come back. We'll welcome you back. It's okay. Because that's I don't care if you're 5, 12, 26. That's still traumatizing.
100%.
Has anybody actually, other than Mike right now, who overheard it, has anybody ever actually walked in on it?
No, I've never had that
I have
experience.
not, thank God.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, as Nick knocks on wood,
Literally.
there was a time like it was my mom's birthday, and all three of us wanted to sing happy birthday at midnight.
Oh no!
That was not a good not a good experience.
Midnight was for a different gift.
I don't think this is helping Mike at all.
no.
No, I don't know, man. Misery loves company. I was hoping at least one of you could share my pain.
No,
okay.
you. Well, well, you know, I don't think they're actually going to watch. So I'll share a story that's probably worse.
Oh God!
As he looks to the Facebook.
Yeah,
Sorry, guys.
as I'm making.
Sorry, guys.
I was going to say as I'm making sure the parents are not probably watching this. And
Do you need a few minutes to make sure?
no.
Okay, he's like even if they are.
In all honesty, as nice as my parents are, they don't really support my professional life. So
that's not fun.
It is what it is. But so they're probably, long story short, they're probably not listening. And if they are, guess what? They're going to learn something about their son.
Well, guess what? we're listening. We're here for you.
Right? So I was in high school, and me and my high school sweetheart were watching a movie. We were downstairs because our basement was finished off, and my parents had a first floor master, which coincidentally was right on top of where the TV area was in the basement. And me and my girlfriend were bored with the movie. The movie sucked. I don't even remember what movie it was. So we were starting to approach that area, and all of a sudden the movie ended. Like the credits stopped rolling, and we kind of stopped, and we heard faint noises that Papchek heard on the phone. And I was like, wait a second. And she was like still into it. I'm like, hang on, no, stop.
Yeah.
Sure enough, my parents were 5 steps ahead of us, and I'm like, yep, killed the mood. Mood's done. I was like, I'm like, sorry, get off me. I don't want to, get your clothes back on. This is not happening. And she's like, what? I said, yeah, no, my parents are 5 steps ahead of us upstairs. So
Wow.
I was like, I'm sorry, I'm going to drive you home. Like, this is, as we hear romantic music in the background, that's savage there,
That's a
Eric.
sinister touch.
But, like that, so, Pap, you can always have it worse. That's basically the long story short.
Yeah, you could have visibly seen it, and that's. I'd rather hear it than see it. That's for sure.
Oh,
yeah,
my God.
for sure.
I thought that'd make me feel better, but now I just feel bad for you. And, oh man.
It wasn't a FaceTime call, was it?
Oh, dear God, no. Oh, dear
That would probably be the more terrifying thing, because hearing it is one thing, but then when you're like, "Oh yeah, what's up, guy? Oh God, no."
Hey, Mom, hey, Dad, how's
Yeah.
the... Oh, my God, that's not a sunset. My God, what is that?
Hey mom, hey dad, how's the trip really going?
You know what, Pat, though? You should call them and just be like, hey, Mom, Dad, just call them to check in. How's the cruise going? And if they're like, oh, yeah, it's great. It's like, oh, so how was last night? What'd you guys do? And it's just like kind of catch them on it and make them feel bad that they literally butt dialed you during sex.
Hey mom, hey dad.
That's crazy.
How were the waves?
Oh, dear God. That is
Did you get any sleep?
Did you get
Motion
any
sickness.
sleep? Because I didn't.
I was gonna say motion sickness. How's the motion of the
man.
ocean, Dad? Is it good? Is it bad? No, but it is. It's traumatizing. You know what? That's gonna be a Roger Castillo like segue to our next ramble topic, because a lover found her significant other as Eric
Wow,
just
this
loses
is a
it.
great transition.
I was going to say, it's a great transition. It was on an airline, and apparently she found her significant other cheating in the most sleuthiest way. Fell asleep on the flight. She decides to go basically James Bond on it. Uses his phone to unlock, or uses his thumb to unlock the phone, and realize that he cheated on her, or is cheating on her, and basically waits. Like, they had to land the plane to kick the couple off because she was about to kill him. Like,
All's fair in love and war.
that is. Have you guys ever been? I guess the question is: have you guys ever been? Well, one, have you ever? I hate to ask it. Cheated on a significant other?
No.
Have I ever?
Have you? You have?
Yes.
Okay.
It's not my proudest moment, but
Okay, but
things happen.
that's fair. How much credit do you give her for sleuthing the way she did? Because I think, like, on a scale of 1 to 10, I give her a 20.
James Bond-esque.
I mean, that is pretty damn good.
I mean, you got to be really, really smooth to be able to grab somebody's thumb while they're sleeping, use it to unlock the phone without waking them up. Like, that's precision. So, I mean, I guess she gets credit.
I mean, that is, like, who thinks like that though? Like,
Yeah.
you're sitting on a plane, you know.
Insecure people.
Yeah,
This is premeditated.
It totally is premeditated. Thank you, Pap. Like, it's totally premeditated, and like, you know, you look over, like, oh, they're sleeping, and I'm holding their hand. The phone's right there. They've been acting suspicious. Yeah,
you got your fingerprint.
let's go there.
I feel like that's a crazy time to want to check. Like,
Right?
I feel like you're much more likely to be successful when you're just chilling at home at the crib, hanging out. Then the dude passes out and you do that. But yeah, I mean, credit to her. I mean, in the moment, she was like, fuck it, I'm going for it.
Seize
She
that
won.
opportunity for sure.
I mean, it's just, I don't know. Like,
Have you guys seen those gifs on like Facebook or whatever
Which-
where the guy's locking his phone and the girl's sleeping next to him and he like hides how he's opening his phone and he like does it with his toe?
I did see that one.
no.
I did see that.
Yes, I've
I have
totally
not
seen
seen that. Now that's James Bond-esque too.
That's very clever.
Your thumbprint's actually, your toe print. So she's trying to. That's smart. That's smart. But let's get the story right. So it's an identified Iranian woman, reportedly, quote unquote, used her husband's fingerprint to unlock his phone while he was asleep before becoming incensed by what she found on the device. Flight attendants were unable to calm the woman down as she was hitting her husband repeatedly, causing the pilots to make a decision to have an emergency landing. The flight was on its way from Doha to Bali. So they were actually going to a nice place, going to Bali. It's not bad.
Ruin that trip real quick.
That's, yeah,
Was it for a romantic getaway?
not anymore.
Yeah.
It's like that thing that goes around at this
But
point in time.
the
I
pla-
mean,
He messed
maybe it was a romantic
It could
getaway,
have
just
been.
not for the romantic getaway.
not
that
for
you
her, at
thought.
least.
Yeah, not for her.
But yeah, they had to land the plane in India, and the couple and their child. So they were.
Oh,
The child was
rough.
with
Okay,
them.
so-
That, I was gonna say that's
yeah.
burying the lead.
Yeah, that's
by the Independent, where this story was found.
That's a little extreme.
They had to be removed from the plane, and no police action was taken, according to an unnamed source.
They probably thought that was good enough justice right there. Be like, yeah, the guy got what he deserved.
Okay. Put yourself in that guy's shoes. Like, how the hell do you react to that when you're just sleeping? You have no.
How do you deny it?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
can't.
How do you just react to just all of a sudden you're getting hit to waking up and you see a girl in a crazy rage?
Oh, God.
And saying you cheat on me, you this, you that. Like, just how the hell do you react in that moment?
I don't know, but I just wiki walked on that link where you go from one link to another,
Uh-oh.
and apparently back in November, a pair of strangers were caught engaged in oral activities on a Delta airline in Detroit. So you
In
want
November?
I was gonna say, so if you want a local angle to the story, there you go.
Yeah.
But they were caught. The woman was 48. The man was 28.
That's awesome. Love it.
Flights are
All right, and the Cougars. All
yeah,
right.
right.
I seen there was a video one of my friends on Facebook had going around where there was a couple I think on a United airline, very back row, Just getting
Oh
it,
my
giving
God,
it.
this is even better. The man was going to Miami. The woman was going to Nashville. So they weren't even like it was just totally like a random
Spur of the
hookup.
moment. Those are the
And
best.
like,
That's literally.
Crazy.
could you imagine the game you must have though
Yeah,
to
Hey,
do something like that? Be like, hey,
we're just
that's next level
we're
smooth.
imagining.
Hey,
what
how
they
old
look
is
like,
Mike
by the way.
Pro?
what?
How old is Mike Pro?
I don't
How
know.
old is Mike? How old is Pro?
I think
Just making sure the story isn't about him.
I don't know. That's a good question. We would ask Pro, but Pro's not here. But
Wah,
yeah,
wah, wah.
yeah, but no,
We'll
that's-
mark him guilty till proven innocent.
Right.
Oh my God! But yeah, no, that I guess I. What's the craziest thing that you guys have seen on a flight? Anything?
On a flight.
Because for me, it seems very tame, but it grosses me the hell out. People who take off their shoes on an airplane,
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
kind of
savagery.
That's kind of
like
foul.
like to me, that's just like, what are you doing?
All right, this one's not gross, but a crying baby on a plane is
That's the
absolute
worst.
yeah, I can
That is.
imagine.
I remember.
Go ahead.
I feel like I remember somebody bringing something like insanely garlicky onto a plane from the food court.
Oh
You
no!
smell it as soon as you got in, and then we were on like it was a Florida to Michigan flight, so it was just the whole time you just smelled this dude's gross garlicky breath. It was
I just took
disgusting.
that flight last week, so it's a good 3-hour
man.
flight. Yeah, the smell straight
Yeah.
up garlic and Fritos with feet hanging. Ugh.
That's the worst. That is. I can't even imagine. Could you imagine sitting next to that person though?
I would complain.
No, I don't want to.
I would complain. I'd be like, "Yo, I need my seat changed," and he's got to sit by himself.
It's like, can we just upgrade him to first class? Just get him the hell out of here. Like,
No, hell no. If anyone's going to first class, it's me. I'm the one who's got to sit next to that dude.
so put him at the back of the plane by the engines.
Oh, it's even worse. There's engines everywhere. Ben, stop it. It's not a fair scenario.
Emergency landing.
So,
Yeah, kick him out. He can take the next flight out.
but Pap had an interesting question going back to the woman who opened her husband's phone with his fingerprint while he was asleep. Is that a dick move, or do you respect it? Because like I said, I respect the hell out of it, even though it is kind of dickish.
I'm in the same boat. It's one of those things where it's like, it's such a bad thing to do, but it's so clever at the same point in time. Like, you're on a plane,
Yeah.
he's passed out, and you're just like, you know what? I'm going to go into his
Now's
phone.
the time,
Right.
yeah.
I'm going to go into
Now
his
is
phone.
the time.
Let me,
Like,
let me grab
It's
his
a
finger.
bad thing if she was wrong, but since she was right, I think it wasn't the dick move. If that makes any sort of sense.
No, that
Absolutely.
does. That
Like-
makes sense.
No, it does because it's probably to be 100% honest. It's probably a conversation that they had before. Like I don't think this girl just had this out of nowhere.
Yeah.
I think
that's
it's
fair.
Yeah.
maybe he has been caught before, or maybe there was like some sort of thing before where he almost got caught or something, and so she's on high alert.
No,
You never know.
that is very fair.
Here's
So
the
if
next
that's
question:
the case,
Huh?
Are they blacklisted from flying home?
That's a very
Together,
good question.
yes.
Because if she caused a ruckus that made them make an emergency landing,
You can't get blacklisted for that, yeah.
Oh.
I'm just saying. I mean, her and her husband, their child's going to fly home, and they're staying there.
Well, to answer that question,
Uh-oh.
oh jeez,
Do we have it?
we do. We have an answer to it. The woman was drunk, and
Oh, that makes it worse now.
and said this is a New Indian Express spokesperson who said this, that the woman was drunk and the family were not allowed to board a subsequent flight until she had sobered up.
Makes sense.
So,
But she's still mad.
she
She's
was
still
even
gonna
more
pretend-
smooth than to be drunk and still pull that off.
like that's what I'm saying. Like that's just like I'm sorry. I have a lot of respect.
You have a lot of respect for that?
Like you're drunk, but like you're drunk, and as Chris said, something had to have happened recently, like in a couple spat, and then she's like, I'm going to catch this guy.
This is why I hate
I'm going to
technology.
catch this guy, and of course she has drunk courage, obviously.
Yeah,
The liquid
She
courage.
has the liquid courage, and she pulls it off.
This is why I hate technology, though, because especially like with new age relationships nowadays, it's that whole, oh, let me get into your phone, see you're not doing anything. Now this is what happens when you don't give her the access code. Like she's gonna find a way to get in that phone regardless.
But that's why I like what.
Look.
Go ahead.
I just want to say, like, I feel like what Chris was saying, like, she knew, like, you don't try to go on the phone unless you think you know already. And Like, I don't want to necessarily get into it, but like, trust me, I have some experience in that. You don't check the phone unless you're pretty sure something's going on in the first place, you know?
Yeah, because I feel like that's an extreme line cross. So I think you have to before you make that move, you have to be fairly confident.
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah. And we have a couple of people that just joined us on Facebook. Hello.
What's up?
We're gonna say
We're
hi.
Talking about cheating.
We have Robert Franks who says hi, first time here. Now a new watcher from here on in. Great show. Thanks, Robert. Appreciate it. If
Thank you,
your name's
Robert.
Bob, we appreciate that too.
Yeah.
Paula says hello. What is that sound in the background?
I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm burning some cobwebs in the corner right now.
I know, but I think you need to hear this, Pat, because oh God. Oh God, that's so bad. What are you doing? Hang on. Oh no.
Hey, Mike, I think your parents are calling.
That is cruel. Oh my God. So if you're just as Papchek's going into a psychotic breakdown. If you're just joining us, Pap got butt dialed by his parents a few minutes ago.
Oh my God, I can't breathe.
It didn't happen. I just forgotten.
Well, still.
Allegedly.
I can't breathe.
That's mean.
You know.
But basically, his parents butt.
I was
gonna say, do not come in next week because I think Pap's gonna murder you, Eric. Like, we're gonna have to separate you guys.
I'll be here till Tuesday, and I'm
Hey,
out.
Eric, where are you from again?
I'm saying. I like to keep my location to myself.
Well, you know he's on Pearson's Piece, which is on Before the Road show.
Oh, what a jerk!
So, Pap, if you ever get here early enough, you can jump up during that show and just go crazy.
Oh, dude, I can't breathe.
That's so bad. But yeah, no, if you're just joining us, Eric decided to play bed spring noises on as a drop. Go ahead, play it again, Eric, because I know you want to.
I'm working on it.
Don't play it again.
Why not? Are you
Who
scared?
agreed to this? Don't encourage him.
Yeah. You guys leave my Pistons co-host alone.
Oh my God.
My guy.
Okay, that's good enough. That a couple of times is
Message
fine.
sent.
Yeah, exactly. Message was sent. But yeah, apparently, Pap's parents butt dialed him during
an away game.
Yeah, as we call it, it was an away game. Actually, no. If they're on a cruise, it would be an international showcase, wouldn't it? It would be like if Notre Dame's playing Boston College in Ireland or something like that. It would be like one of those type of games. So,
or at the very least, neutral site. Yeah.
Who scored the touchdown though?
Oh dear God! Now that's a I was gonna say that's a knife turning comment.
Now is that a dick move?
Yes,
Yes.
that is terrible. As Paps,
I feel like you guys are only saying this because I'm not sitting there with you, man.
I don't know. I think
I probably would still do it.
I think the type of guys we have on the road show this week, I think we'd all say it to your face. So at least there's some solace there. Because at this,
oh yeah, that makes me feel. Really
I know, right? It makes it that much better. But we would probably get you to the point where you would kind of get up and walk away, like you do, because that's. Obviously,
or just cry in the corner.
Yeah, right. We just focus on Facebook Live, just Papchek huddled in the corner, be like, "Oh God, no!"
I think we found the name for this week's episode.
International. I think it would have been worse. If
No,
you
it's
were
just
here and it happened.
The Bed Spring Symphony. That's the name of the episode, and there we go.
Yes.
But yeah, no. We're gonna close up the ramble. Since we have Chris Platty here and Papchek, we're gonna get your mind off of it. Really, really easy. The NBA awards was on Wednesday or Thursday of this week? Is that correct?
It was Monday.
Really?
Monday.
Yeah.
Was it on Monday?
Dude, I don't know.
It was June 26th.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
That was Tuesday.
Okay. So on Tuesday, see, that's the funny thing. We don't even know which day it was. That kind of goes to show how important this award show is.
Yeah, 100%. Like me as a basketball fanatic,
yeah,
I did not even know about the award show. I didn't anything. I heard about it like an hour before, and
There
then
really
I thought,
wasn't
then
that
I
much
thought it was the
promotion for it.
Players Award. I didn't know it was the real, actual NBA awards. So when everybody's talking about Dwayne Casey, Coach of the Year and stuff, I'm like, wait, what? This is real?
Oh God.
It happened.
It just shows you that something they're doing with that NBA awards show just isn't working. It's not getting people.
Yeah.
Nobody talked about it this year.
Well, yeah, no.
ESPN was talking about this morning that James Harden had on a cow robe when he was accepting his award. It looked like a cow.
It looked
Okay,
Actually, it looked like a chocolate cow because it was.
And we still didn't know about it.
that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm literally about to Google this to see what it looks like.
You didn't see it? You didn't see the words at all?
No,
I didn't watch a second.
Because here's the thing. Here's the dumbest thing about this award show, right? I get what the NBA is doing,
Yeah.
but we already know who won the award like a month and a half ago.
Okay, can I vent a little frustration I have with the award show?
Go ahead. And I'm looking at this. It looks like what he wore looked like an ink blot test, like a Rorschach test.
I was saying,
Wow,
isn't it?
man.
Yeah.
And if you want some spotted cow, that works too.
That's crazy. But
yeah.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
so-
vent.
so-
Feel free.
I agree with all the sentiments of the just award show itself being a problem. But let's take it beyond that. Why, if we're moving the awards till June, why don't we include playoff performances in these awards?
That has been my complaint. 'Cause this is the second time they've done the NBA awards,
Right.
And it's always been after the.
And
regular
how
season.
many times does Coach of the Year, does MVP, does Defensive Player of the Year?
Yeah.
How many times do these awards look silly in the span of a month later? After
Yeah,
they're-
no,
after
it
they're
looks
given?
crazy. It looks
So-
real crazy.
And now they're looking silly even in hindsight, like with Dwayne Casey, Coach of the Year. I'm not saying
Yeah.
he doesn't deserve it. There's a lot of coaches that deserve it, but
You got
playoffs. I mean, look at what Brad Stevens did in the playoffs and
Oh, yeah,
everything.
for
And
sure.
so to me, I think if you're moving it back, you should include the playoffs. I think the playoffs should matter. And we hear the notion all the time about how there's just certain star players or certain players that just pace themselves during the regular season. So if they really are pacing themselves, what is the validation of that reward? Is that reward as validating as it was 10, 20 years ago? Now this is a way to modernize it and kind of update it and be like, okay, well, now we're including playoffs and playoff performances.
Yeah.
So,
as the way it should be.
right.
You know?
I agree. I agree because players play their best basketball in the playoffs,
Go ahead, Pap.
generally speaking.
I'm never going to care about an award show that takes place 2 weeks after the season ends.
Yeah,
2
no,
weeks
What,
or
what
2
other
months.
sport does this?
Yeah.
How can you take it
No other
seriously?
sport does it that way. So I don't understand why the NBA is going to try this.
Yeah.
Literally, it was a non-event.
Yeah.
It was almost as bad as the I don't know. I just am not really sure why they're trying to do this. Nobody cares at this point.
I agree.
And
my problem
yeah,
with the
but
awards.
Chris, I literally didn't even watch a single second of
yeah.
it.
Well,
I
there
watched.
you go.
I literally just watched because again I was channel surfing and then it came on. I was like, oh, okay, cool. I watched whatever else I was watching and then I went back just to see who won MVP, and that was it.
Okay.
I didn't even hear his acceptance speech.
Question to further prove the irrelevance of the NBA awards. Last year, Drake was at the NBA awards. Was that the NBA awards or the Players Awards? Because I honestly don't know.
So I think they changed the name of it. It was the NBA. No, I lied. It was the NBA awards.
No, last year they had 2 separate awards.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, I was contradicting myself. So no,
Is there a Players Award this year? Has it happened?
I don't think
I
they're
really
going to
I
do
don't.
it anymore.
That's the thing. I don't even know.
I'm
but
being honest.
the one thing though, I think we all saw it on social media. Bill Russell flipping off Charles
That was
Barkley.
great.
That was iconic. That was the best thing to ever come from the NBA award show, and that might be
smile
the
was so
reason it
innocent.
gets another run.
I was
next
going
year.
to say Bill Russell still winning championships. I mean that's because that was the only way I knew it was on. Like, and even then I didn't want to tune in because I had a GIF of it on Twitter. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, I see it. That is awesome. Charles Barkley getting flipped off by one of the great NBA players. Like,
But he did it so subtle too, because he's
Yeah,
just
he
sitting
just-
there. You know, they got the camera on him. He's like ah, eh.
Yeah, he
But
had
that
like
was the
3 or
best
4
part of it.
fingers
Yeah.
too.
But- well,
so
that-
it's like, is he really?
well, he probably has arthritis.
Yeah.
So, but like he did this, and you could tell what he was doing.
Oh, it
and-
was.
Oh, yeah.
It was made very clear.
but like, one great camera work by that camera guy to like.
Perfect
catch
timing.
that
Because it was perfectly framed in between 2 shoulders of people sitting in front of him. He's right in front, And sure enough, there he is, just
Man.
flipping off Charles
Incredible.
Barkley.
Well, it's funny too because I don't know if you guys have ever seen the way how those things work out. Like when you're watching it, it's kind of delayed a little bit too. So as he's doing it, he's just like ha ha. Next thing you know, he sees himself on the screens that are back there. So that's why he started laughing even more. He's like, oh crap, I got busted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How can you take this award show seriously, though?
I can't.
LeBron, all I see this week was LeBron's numbers and Harden's numbers compared back and forth. Obviously,
Yeah.
LeBron.
No,
should
I
have
think
won,
I
no
think
doubt.
it could maybe in a couple years be interesting if they do it the right way. They continue to build it up. Like this year, it was generally an awareness issue with me. I'm not saying I would for sure watch it, but I was not even aware of it. So
Sure.
So I think maybe over the couple years they could build it up. I get again like what Ben said, what they're trying to do, which is basically prolong the NBA's relevance throughout
prolong
the
the
summer
season.
and prolong the season. But yeah, I don't really.
Playoffs are
going
to have to be included one way or another. If you're going to extend the timeline back that far,
Yeah, that's
you're
my
gonna
bigger
have to
issue.
include-
Is I want the awards to include playoffs. I'm hell bent.
Yeah,
on
but
that.
no sport does that.
All right.
I know, but how many sports have
an award, give out their awards 2
No.
months after the season.
no, not even that. That's true, but also how many sports really have an underlying like, albeit it's a reputation, so it's somewhat false, somewhat true of. Like the NBA has the reputation of having like the most meaningless regular season, I'd say, of all sports. Would you guys agree with that?
Except for baseball. No, baseball.
Oh yeah, baseball. True.
Because it's all about the number of games. Like that's
Right.
the thing, though. It's not about necessarily the game. It's just the amount of games.
Right. But no, I don't know. I think they should include playoffs because I think that would be a great way because you're going the best of the best. That's when all the players theoretically are trying and playing their absolute hardest.
So, Pat,
Well, isn't that where the playoff MVP and the playoff defensive MVP, all that, like they have awards for that in the playoff. I'm not necessarily saying I disagree with you, but I feel like I don't know if the NBA is going to be the one that would break that. I feel like these four sports, they all do it for a reason. I think.
Yeah.
All right.
What that reason is, I'm not really sure, but it just seems like I don't know.
But I think that's a modern approach because I think now that we're in an era where athletes, and it's not just basketball, it's all sports, athletes are looking towards resting, they're looking towards all sorts of, they're more conscious of their bodies than ever,
Right.
and pacing themselves and all those things.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that this is a step that leagues should take. Honestly, I think this would be a smart move to take. And you're right, maybe the NBA is not the first league that does it, but I think it's a move that should be made.
Go ahead, Nick.
Besides the MVP that I had a problem with, Brad Stevens didn't get one vote for Coach of the Year.
Yeah, and
Not
look
one.
how stupid
That's
looks.
That's
It looks
amazing to
stupid
me.
in the regular season.
I don't even know who the other candidate was.
Wait, guys, I'm pretty sure that was the Associated Press Coach of the Year. The actual NBA awards, I'm pretty sure he got a couple votes.
See
He
what
did.
the hell?
Because it was just him, Quinn
This is
Snyder,
what I'm saying about the
and,
Too many awards, yeah.
But that's the confusion. That's the whole reason I brought this up in the first place. Because it's like I say the NBA awards. We all thought that Dwayne Casey already won the Coach of the Year, but he had to win it again at the NBA awards. You know,
Right.
like
That's true.
It's
That's also
ridiculous.
another thing is they shouldn't announce a finalist. They shouldn't do any of that. I mean, maybe they should like a week before because they announced it like a month or two ago. I don't know when they
Yeah,
announced
no,
it.
those votes are taking
And
place like back
people-
in
Yeah.
April.
Yeah, those votes were casted the Friday after the regular season was finished, the day before the playoffs started. That's when those votes were casted, and I think they announced it like a couple weeks later. I think they announced it while the playoffs were still going for sure, and so there was like a month layaway. I think they should wait till after, especially if they're going 2 weeks after the NBA season ends. They should do it closer because we all like assumed that Dwayne Casey won it.
Right. Go ahead. You had a question, Nick?
That's a
well,
problem.
I think
Not,
Hold on,
not a
hold on.
question, but I was surfing the channels too, and I ended
Yeah.
up on watching it, and I thought it was a music award ceremony because I turned it on and there's literally a performance going on that made
Yep.
me turn the channel. I turned the channel back on like 5 minutes later. That
And it was
performance
done.
was still going.
Oh, was it really?
Yeah. I was like, this is ridiculous.
That's fair. No, and the funny thing is with those music awards, you see NBA players there anyways.
Yeah.
So I could see where the confusion is. But really quick, going back to the Coach of the Year, So you get 5 points if you get first place votes, 3 points if you get second, and 1 point for third place. Brad Stevens came in third with 203 votes for total points. Quinn Snyder came in second with 217, and of course, now Piston head coach Dwayne Casey, just shy of 300 points, 292. So, and it was also.
I mean, I think those were the 3 best regular season coaches in the NBA too.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
No, I'd agree with that.
agree.
And I do think it was funny within the span of like 15 seconds of each other. The Pistons are like, oh my God, congratulations, coach. And then the Raptors account's like, congrats, Dwayne. like it was just like,
Good job, buddy.
yeah, it's like, hey man, good work. Sorry, but I mean
Yeah.
that, and I think the Bill Russell flipping off Charles Barkley. I mean, those are the only 2 memorable moments of your entire awards night.
And that speaks to the
Like,
problem.
that's bad. Well, right, exactly.
That speaks to the problem with the awards is that they haven't separated themselves from other awards. I mean, I'm so confused as to who won what from where, and that's a problem. Like the NBA itself, the league itself has not figured out a way to elevate their awards and their status to be so far superior to the rest that we don't
Yeah.
pay attention to them.
But it is by far still one of the bigger sports out of the 4
Oh, yeah.
major
Course,
sports. Yeah.
of course, but yeah, it's just as far as their award problem. I don't know, I don't know how to solve that. Truthfully, how do you solve that? How do you propel the NBA awards above everything else?
I think it starts with not putting it 2 weeks after the season.
Well, that's the thing. I think
Yeah.
I think the placement of it, because there's already a break between the regular season and the playoffs anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So in that break, I know you want players to be there, but like that's the thing. Like you would either have to do it in that like 1 week break between regular season and playoffs, which screws off the whole like strategy of the playoffs, getting ready for your first
Yeah,
round.
well,
of
right now
opponents.
it's only like 2-3 days.
Well, right. So, like, you can't have it then. You can't have it, like, I would say maybe during the All-Star break, but if we're already getting upset that it's happening,
Yeah.
2 weeks
Yeah,
or,
there'd be no way.
like 2 months after, or like a month after the regular, or, the playoffs are over, then, yeah, you can't have them during the All-Star break because that's
It's the
way
regular
too long.
season, yeah.
And the next season's already taken off. So, like, that's the thing. Like, I don't know when they would do it. Because
They prolonged the finals for another couple days to add it there.
Before the NBA finals?
The NFL does it before the Super Bowl.
yeah, but the NFL gives like a week off before preparation week of the Super Bowl.
Right, and then keep in
So-
mind too, this whole NBA awards thing is new. Before
Yeah.
they were still doing that. Right before the
Yeah, they're
playoff or
figuring
the
it out.
finals game, it was like, here's your award. You won this. You won that.
I mean, that I think that would be like the closest compromise, I guess. But I don't know. What about?
I was just going to say quick shout out to my favorite NBA player, Lou Williams, 6th man of the year.
Yeah, definitely not defensive player of the year.
yeah.
No, Rudy
Sixth
Gobert
man
won
of
that one. That one I know.
Well, that's one of my favorite players. I love Rudy Gobert.
Yeah.
Yeah, didn't he get traded?
No, not yet.
No.
Then it was.
Unless you have incredible sources.
Right, I was gonna say
No,
unless you're
'cause
breaking news
Marcin
here.
Gortat.
That's who
yeah.
I was thinking of. Thank you.
Yeah.
I was gonna say because someone got traded to the Clippers.
Wizards saved a whopping $1 million on it.
That's what I was like. Wait a second. I was like, hang on. But yeah, no. Thank you. So, breaking news on the road show. Because I do
Don't
not.
play with my emotions like that.
I was gonna say I do not. I have sources, but they're not national sources. And if they were, that would be awesome. But
Yeah.
no. I don't know. Like, well, I mean, while we're here, we have the NBA Jam music in the background. Let's quickly go into free agency. It hasn't really started yet, but there's been tons of drama.
Lots of stuff has happened.
Kawhi Leonard and the Spurs finally kind of agreeing to part ways without having any deals officially done. LeBron James yesterday opted out. Paul George also opted out, and LeBron allegedly reaching out to Kevin Durant, or
DeAndre Jordan opted out too.
did he?
So, yeah.
Okay, there.
Yeah.
And I actually have a report that I got from one of my friends this morning.
What are they? Your sources? What are your sources? saying?
I have friends who
Twitter.
follow some stuff, but so
Everybody opted out and Melo opted in.
Yeah.
well, he had
Anyway,
to.
go ahead.
The Golden State Warriors are
Oh.
working to bring DeAndre Jordan to that team.
Jesus Christ.
If that's
Yep.
the case, I think Golden State's going to have it for the next 3 years. There'd be no
At
way.
least.
They're going to try to use their mid-level exception.
Yeah, they're gonna. It would be a 1 year thing because DeAndre's whole point, the whole thing is that there's no market this year. There's going to be a huge market
sure.
next year because all those horrible contracts that were signed start to come off the books.
Well,
Yeah.
right.
So-
but could you imagine, like, just
Even
having
in that 1 year.
but just having him coming off the bench,
He would
or
start.
or
He
well,
would
but
start.
like,
because they still
Would he,
they
though?
still start JaVale.
Yeah.
But I mean in the
no, you're right. No, you're
So,
right.
yeah, they-
no, you're totally right.
And remember last
Steve
year.
Kerr loves to start a traditional center.
Yeah, and then last
you're
year
fair.
before
That's
that
good.
too, they had Zaza starting.
No, you're,
Zaza was a starter. So
no, that's true.
Yeah. Zaza Pachulia is
So-
not a
Would that
great
be a way
starting
to,
center.
to beat them though, like hack a Shaq kind of thing?
well, everybody's gonna hack DeAndre
might-
because he
that might-
can't.
No,
shoot
because
free
then they
throws.
just go small.
That
It
could-
just makes them better. It literally just makes the Warriors better for the moments that he's on the court.
Could you imagine, like, the first 3 minutes of the game they're doing, like, the hack strategy, and then Steve Kerr's like, oh, by the way, but yeah, we're just gonna go small.
We're just
so-
gonna move Kevin Durant or Draymond Green to center. And
yeah,
just,
Draymond, you're
have
now
fun.
center. We're gonna just have Nick Young just
No,
take
it
up
just
space.
it's just think about it this way in a vacuum.
God, not
think
Nick Young.
about it. Think about it in a vacuum. That essentially you're replacing JaVale McGee, Zaza Pachulia minutes with DeAndre Jordan.
Yeah,
That's all. That's all it is.
no, that's true.
And I talked about this on
He would probably play more.
shameless
He
plug
would.
on
I still
Pearson's
think
piece.
he's going to go to the Mavs.
If the Warriors did bring DeAndre Jordan, it would make the Warriors' life even better than what it is now because you have an already really solid interior defender. Kevin Durant can go back to being a legit shooter, and Draymond can just be a perimeter defender. It literally makes life so much easier.
The
for everybody
defense,
else.
the defense between that front line
It's
of KD,
ridiculous.
Draymond, and DJ would be
Ridiculous.
honestly all time incredible. I think.
Hey, I think Roger is breaking his social media ban because I
do we have a
Roger,
chime in?
Roger, you've been caught. If you're listening, you've officially been caught, Roger.
Busted.
So
All right, but yeah, I think that's enough on that. Basically, bottom line, if the Warriors do that, they're incredible. They're going to be good. They're going to be even better than
Yeah.
well, but
what
like,
they are.
here's the thing, though, too. Like, I don't think even though LeBron James opted out, like to me that doesn't make sense. Like because for like what you said, like why would you not just opt in, play one more year in Cleveland, then go
Does he
somewhere?
really want to spend another in his 30s? Does he really want to spend another dead weight year? Because that's what that year would be.
Well, but if like let's say the Lakers trade for Kawhi, they're going to be depleted. So like, why would you go to like you're not bettering
Well-
your scenario anywhere?
Well, I mean, I would definitely disagree with that. Adding Kawhi to going LeBron playing with Kawhi. LeBron didn't play with anybody nearly even a fraction of the player of Kawhi. He's immediately going to a better situation than Cleveland.
Is he?
Yeah,
Because
but
100%.
Kawhi could be technically a rental too.
well, but like I
I
don't
mean, technically,
like,
but still, would you rather spend your 1 year rental in Cleveland with Jordan Clarkson, or would you rather spend it with Kawhi?
well, but there's rumors that that Cleveland could trade Clarkston and Sexton for Kemba Walker. So
Yeah, I heard that too.
if that
Oh
happens,
God!
I'm just saying.
Where did you read that?
No. That's a real legit.
Yeah,
rumor.
no, that is
But-
a legit
I've heard
thing.
But the conversation is
If it's
dead now.
legit, then that's another. That's dumb. I'm sorry. I haven't read that.
No. It
Colin
was
Sexton, one of the most overrated point guards in the entire draft.
It
So
wa-
overrated.
it was legit, but it's now dead. The Hornets are basically hell bent on keeping Kemba for this moment.
Everything goes dead, and then you get the right deal talking again.
Well, but
they'll
like,
spark up.
but this is what I bring up though, right? So like, let's say, and this is going to take a leap of faith. Let's say the Lakers do trade for Kawhi, right? They're going to give up. They're going to give up top talent. They have to.
Well, there's still a world where they could end up with the three, which is LeBron, PG, and Kawhi. There's still that world.
There is
a possibility.
There is, but you still
Can't trade Lonzo anymore though.
well.
Why do you say that?
He got injured. He's
Yeah.
tore his
Oh,
ACL.
yeah.
Yeah. So like, but like, you're losing like your quality depth. Like that's the thing. Like you can have a big three, sure, but like you don't have the quality depth
Yeah.
that you would have. Like, don't get me wrong. Yeah, a Kawhi Leonard, LeBron James, and let's say
George.
Paul George all join the Lakers. Sure, that's great. but
No,
you're going to have to stagger the rest minutes. You can't have unless you're just going to go. All three of you sit, take a break. And,
I 100% agree with you. But my point is that that's still a 1 million times better situation than running it back one more year in Cleveland. That's all.
Plus, for the Lakers, if you do that, you still got to find a way to handle the Julius Randle situation.
Mm-hmm.
But with him going and opting out, that means he can't get traded. How many teams in the league have the cap space to take him?
LeBron,
Philly, L.A.,
A lot, actually.
Cleveland,
Atlanta,
and
Chicago.
LeBron's not gonna-
but yeah,
Could you
they're
imagine
not
him in
going.
Atlanta? That would be semi-funny.
You know where I want to see LeBron go?
Where's that?
L.A., but not the Lakers.
Oh, the
Clippers?
I would like him in the Clippers. That'd be fun.
Clippers have never made it past the second round. I just think that would do.
Nah.
That would make him.
Doc Rivers and
Awesome
LeBron
in my
James would
eyes.
hate each other.
Yeah.
I kind of want to see LeBron James and Popovich.
I've
Antonio.
always wanted to see
just
that.
just
but-
because
Too, always.
like just because one, I don't think their egos would work together. Two, if
No,
it would,
yeah.
that would be interesting as heck.
It-
Like I'm sorry, like if LeBron James was finally like, yeah, you know what, coach me. Like I'll
Yeah.
actually take coaching. Like
It would be a
it could-
win-win.
It would be something incredible.
It would. It would.
It really would.
100%.
Yeah.
It's been my dream. Like I said on my podcast all throughout the year, I thought he was going to find a way to San Antonio. But now that this whole Kawhi thing is,
Well,
where it's at.
if he does go to San Antonio, you know Kawhi's going to stay. So then everybody kind of gets
well,
what
yeah,
they want.
well, yeah. But with which is interesting because the Spurs still, even to this day, right now, even though they're accepting the fact that they're listening to trades for Kawhi, they're still not 100% sold on trading him. They still want to keep him.
Yeah,
They're trying to talk to him every day, and he's just not talking to them.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and they said that they are not going to devalue him because he wants to leave. They want exactly what they think he's worth and that they value him very, very highly.
Which is a good thing from an organizational point. I think, again, with this whole situation, both sides, Kawhi and the Spurs, kind of showed themselves.
So I have a question here.
Go. Yeah.
So what's the bigger domino? We always talk about how the NBA free agency season is always once the biggest domino falls, everything falls into place, and it's always LeBron. But is it this year Kawhi?
Yes. I think so. Because
No,
you don't
Still
think so?
it's LeBron.
No.
I don't.
Who do you think it is, Pat? Who do you think?
Well,
Who do you think's
I
the
actually
biggest
don't
domino?
think that there's one domino this year. I think that it's whoever it's. You gotta wait to see. It's the first max deal you see. It could be Paul George or it could be LeBron. I legitimately think that Paul George will sign first, and I think that if that happens,
No, I'm glad you brought it up because that's who I think the first domino is. I think it's Paul George.
I think so too.
yeah.
The only reason I say Kawhi is because everybody's kind of waiting on LeBron. So if a deal gets done with Kawhi first, then you're going to get a faster response. From
I will
LeBron.
say though, the Spurs are operating on two timelines. There's two timelines of Kawhi. So there's technically the new NBA season starts July 1st when free agency starts, right?
Yes.
So they're looking there's benefits to trading him before that, and then there's it's like there's two different worlds. There's different offers, there's different implications, there's a whole bunch of different stuff that I can't really get into at the moment. But there's stuff there happening July 1st,
Get more into
before
it
July
since it's their
1st,
beat.
and then after July 1st. There's pros and cons, and to be honest, I mix them up all the time. But the Spurs are basically operating on two timelines. So Kawhi could be the first domino to fall, or it could be one of the last.
Let me go ahead, Nick.
All right. All I was going to say is I literally think LeBron should consider the Clippers just because Lou Williams is such a Golden State Warriors point getter, man. He put up 50 on them last year in one game. And he averaged over, they played 3 games against him last year. He had averaged over 31 points.
Yeah. Man, I don't know. Like
But they got to do some. They got to do quite some maneuvering to
Yeah.
I understand that. I just think
I mean,
it would be a great
way,
story.
this is going to be interesting. Like, because whether you like the guy or not, it's going to be interesting where LeBron James decides
Goes.
to play.
Oh yeah,
Most
absolutely.
likely he's going to be the Lakers, but
I really hope it's.
And I also think there's a difference between the first domino fall and the biggest domino.
Oh, totally.
That's fair.
And
That's fair.
and so I think Paul George, if he signs, I think there are implications, but I don't think they're as set in stone as when LeBron or Kawhi make their decision. Truthfully, I think the first quote-unquote big domino that will fall is what the Mavs do at the center. The Mavs are looking to make that move right away, and they got their eyes on like 3 or 4 centers.
I know they want their primary target they've already announced is going to be DeAndre Jordan. And
I think Clint Capella is 1, DeAndre's 2, Cousins is 3.
Yeah, I was because and honestly, that's to me is the sleeper.
Oh man,
somebody who goes under is DeMarcus Cousins.
We all know DeAndre Jordan in Dallas. They've danced the tango a couple of times, and they've never finished. They've never left the dance floor together. They've always had the dance interrupted by someone else.
Yeah,
maybe they won't have commitment issues this year.
I want to see Cousins
Chris Paul
with Wall.
Oh, that would be fun.
That would be fun.
That'd be a fun little.
But the Wizards, talk about cap situations.
I think if they got rid of I think they can make it work.
They'd have to get rid of Otto Porter.
Yeah, well,
I mean, and who wants that?
I don't know.
I like Otto Porter.
I do too. Just not for that number.
Okay. Well,
but anyways,
so we're gonna move on from the NBA. We've talked about it now for about 30 minutes or so. But as we do, we're gonna obviously talk now Tigers, and we know what's obviously happening. I'm gonna quickly jump off mic so I can pot this thing down because we don't want NBA Jam music over the Tigers. But maybe I can. Let's see if I can sleuth it. Hang on.
Well, yeah. I mean, we should probably just address kind of the elephant in the room with the Chris Bosio stuff. The Tigers pitching coach Chris Bosio was fired this week pretty swiftly after making a supposed insensitive and racist comment towards a clubhouse coworker, which he has denied profusely over and over again.
Well, yeah, and here's the thing though too. Like, just really quick before we dive into that really deep and hard.
Yeah,
I do not appreciate the people's speculation on like what happened. Like, there was a rumor that was going around that this was done in the dugout, saying it about Rod Allen and Kurt Gibson and blah blah blah. That would never ever happen. Like, that's why I'm glad the way we have good reporters in the area. We have Katie Strang, who does an amazing job at The Athletic. Lynn Henning did a very, very good job with the Detroit News. Anthony Fenich at the Free Press. And Bob Nightingale did an interesting piece with Bosio himself, which turned out to be loads of crap. But, anything that happens like this always happens in a clubhouse. It never happens out in public. It doesn't happen in dugouts. You don't overhear stuff that happens in dugouts. And I'm really, really appreciative of the reporters that we have in this town outside of Bob Nightingale, because he's a national reporter with USA Today. But he's an excellent baseball reporter, does a fantastic job. If you're not following him on Twitter, if you're not reading him at least once a week, you're doing yourself a disservice. But I'm really thankful that we have those type of reporters to get the story straight, because it was a story that had a lot of moving parts. I mean, Katie Strang talked to at least 5 or 6 people, you could tell in her piece. That was a good wrap-up piece of everything that happened, and a good summation piece of everything that happened. You can tell she talked to 6 people at least to get kind of where things were going. I just wanted to commend the reporters in this town. Being a reporter is not on their level, because I mostly cover high school sports, but it is what it is. They did a tremendous job, and I just want to tip the cap to them. But, yeah, because it was a weird story from the beginning. It was what happened on Tuesday, Tuesday?
Sounds about right.
It happened on Monday.
Yeah.
So what happened was just kind of I can do a quick rundown, and I'm getting all this information from the Ken Rosenthal and Katie Strang piece on The Athletic, which is unlocked. I know people don't really like the paywall sometimes, but this is unlocked and free to read for everybody. And from what I've gathered from the Katie Strang piece, Bosio called the attendant, who is African-American, a monkey, according to 4 team sources. The remark was directed toward the young man who was collecting towels from the coach's room at the time, in which Bosio was lamenting about a pitcher. Basically what happened, as Ben said, it kind of went back and forth. Bosio said he was referring to Daniel Stumpf as a spider monkey,
Yes.
Because when he works out, he makes odd faces, and he's a tall, lanky white kid. So that is what Bosio claimed is what the attendant heard. Katie String did update this story since the last time I read it, actually, a couple hours ago, and it said that 4 team sources had said that Bosio had a subsequent conversation after making this comment in which he attempted to be conciliatory while asking the young man if he really wanted to make an issue of the comment. So it seems like Bosio kind of, from what we've been able to gather, was given a chance to apologize and chose not to, and instead seemed to have chose the route to, do you really want to make this an issue instead?
Well,
but it took the Tigers roughly 48 hours to complete an investigation, and basically the directors unanimously decided to let him go.
Well, and that's the thing that's interesting, too, because if you read the Bob Nightingale piece, he said that he wanted to apologize and that the club never really gave him an opportunity to, quote-unquote, apologize.
Interesting.
So, like that's the thing. Like, if you follow the breadcrumbs of this story, like, that's why, like, I mean, again, I appreciate what Bob Nightingale did to reach out to Bosio, get his side of the story, because that's important to at least hear and whatnot. But, like, that's the thing. Like, when all this came to a head and you know, again, we're getting now just the remnants of it, the very last pieces of it, it's just, if it makes you wonder if Bosio just said to the kid as it happened, like, "Hey, no, I'm truly, truly sorry. Didn't mean it like that. Just joking around. You know how, like, we are in the clubhouse. I'm truly sorry." He's probably still your pitching coach. I mean, like, I don't think the investigation gets lost, or maybe he gets, you know, fined by the team for, you know, the uniform conduct policy that they used to fire him. But
Right.
I think Bosio at that point probably still is your pitching coach. I mean, there would be a story of why he's not on the bench, he's not in the dugout, you know, for maybe a week. And then after that, it would subside. But the fact that he kind of tried to brush it off and wasn't truthful and forthright with it led to his demise. So, like, it was just one of the things that with this team now, they have a losing streak of 10 games. They were very, very competitive. And now you have this. It was, and I don't want to say it's a promising season, because that's totally the wrong word. Because this season, as we all know, it's a rebuilding year. There's no promise to it. There was going to be a losing streak that was going to happen. At some point, this team was going to hit the wall. It just unfortunately happened right in the beginnings of the dog days of summer. And that Cleveland series really broke their back last week.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just one of the things that, you're still quote. I mean, you're still being competitive, but you're being competitive against bad teams. I mean, that's really what it is. And when you're facing good teams, you're not very good, and you're still fighting for second place, which
isn't bad.
It's not bad, but when you look at the wild card standings, it's worse. That's where you're like, that's where you look at it and you're like, yeah, you know, Tigers still battling for a division title, and then you look at the wild card standings, you're like, damn, 16 back. And then that's the reality that sets in. Go ahead, Pat.
Well, Ben, yeah, you brought up that it sounds like if he'd apologized and really tried to make amends, that he'd have been there. Well, you mentioned that they're also in a rebuilding year. Do you think that there's a chance that if the Tigers were actually, let's say, fast forward this 2 years, or maybe even rewind 2 years, and say that they're still in win now mode, do you think that if something like this happens, the Tigers would do something more to try to maybe keep him because it's not something they'd want to deal with? Or do you think that this is actually the direction that Al Avila wants to take the organization in the first place?
I think no matter what, I think the fact that he was not really apologetic about what he said, he was going to be gone regardless. And if let's say, if Justin Verlander was still on staff, you still had, let's say, I don't know, like a Rick Porcello and Justin Verlander on this staff, and something like this happens, I still would say 9 out of 10 times, because there's always that one time it may not happen, but 9 out of 10 times he would still be fired. Because it just seems like Al Avila wants to run the Tigers as an upstanding classy organization. It's always been one of those organizations where they have a moral high ground and a good moral background, and you can't have anything that really compromises that. So that's why I would say 9 times out of 10, because there's always the one time where it wouldn't happen, and I would still say, yeah, if they were in win now mode, he would still be gone.
I mean, I just want
because they did it with a guy like Rick Knapp. I mean, and they were still win now mode, and Rick Knapp was just fired for, being a terrible, like his pitching staff just started to go downhill, and they're like, you're not fixing it. It now sucks. Goodbye. And that was all. And that was all performance based. Mm-hmm. And then the guy who supplanted Rick Knapp was fired for the same reasons. After the first half of the season, they were fine, and then they started to tail off. But I still think that if it was a win now mode, he would still be gone. I don't think you would compromise your morality for it.
And as a Tigers fan, and I am a Tigers fan, definitely. It kind of feels good. Maybe it's just because all the Matt Patricia stuff and how the Lions are coming under fire on if they did the right stuff, and that stuff's kind of still a little unsettled. It's just kind of nice to see that the Tigers are literally in the exact opposite situation. They dealt with this in under 48 hours. They conducted an investigation. They took action. They released a statement, and they moved on. I feel like it handled worse, could have been a much bigger story that would have ran a lot longer. And to be completely honest, I feel like we're only talking about it because this is a once-a-week show, So I'm almost proud to say that I'm a Tigers fan, to see that they're able to deal with some hate in that way, and they're able to just remove it and move on very, very quickly. You don't see that in sports all the time,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, bringing up the Lions, I think the Lions kind of moved on about it quickly. They just were very sloppy with the way they handled it. Mm-hmm. Because all the Lions had to say, honestly, because it goes back with the Matt Patricia thing, is in the initial interview. Because Bob Quinn and Patricia, with the background that they have, they were probably like, hey, how's the wife and kids? You guys ready for a move? Can we help out? Obviously, you and I go back all the way to 2000, blah, blah, blah. And
more like a friendship.
Yeah, it was more like this is a formality instead of hey, this is a real job interview. So because even
I don't think that affects how you check somebody's background, because it's done outside of the interview.
Well, it should be. That's the thing. It should have been caught, because it was easily caught by a $10 subscription to LexisNexis. But yeah, I don't know. But
what a name.
That's where the Lions had the misstep, and then the Lions had a quick. I think it was a 18-hour review, and then they're like, "Oh yeah, no, Patricia's fine." And in the Tigers case, they had a full 48 hours, and they're like, "Yeah, no, you're done. Bye." But going back to the losing streak, no, it's now at 10 games. Roger Castillo, who's not with us, is going up to Toronto to hopefully stop this losing streak himself, come hell or high water.
Catch a ball.
And when do you guys see this losing streak ending?
You said it's 10 games.
It's at 10 games. Yeah, it's at 10 games right now.
Who are the next few teams that they have up?
So they have the 4-game series with Toronto.
Okay.
Then they have a 2-game series at the Cubs, and then they host, starting July 5th, the Texas Rangers for 4 games. Then they're back on the road against Tampa Bay and Houston. So
who are the probables that they're looking at seeing? Because it seems like they're facing some pretty decent pitchers in the next coming days. Doesn't really look good for the Tigers, really.
No, it doesn't, and you're right. I mean, it does come down to probable pitchers, but today's matchup.
Happ.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Ben.
No, you're fine. Go ahead.
No, you go first. No, you go first.
You hang up first.
Oh,
No.
gosh.
You hang up first.
So they're playing. Roger's going to see this young guy, Gaviglio, I believe. He's 28 years old. He's pretty much having a similar year to Matt Boyd, who he's playing against. And then it's Zimmerman versus J.A. Happ. J.A. Happ probably leads the league in wins right now with 10 against Jordan Zimmerman. And then you've got Kyle Hendricks, Jose Quintana in the Cubs. And then they get to face Bartolo Colon. I could see this streak reaching 15, 16 games with the pitchers that they got to face.
Yeah, it looks kind of scary.
Honestly.
Yeah, no, it it looks pretty. That's why I bring it up. Happ is a very, very good pitcher. I mean, maybe you break it tonight or today at 1 o'clock when they play Toronto, but I don't know. Like, here's the thing that is really interesting about this losing streak is that the Tigers are going up against, like, in pitchers that they can hit, they get up, 4 runs, and in some cases 6 runs, like they did against Oakland, but then they just fall back apart. Like, the bullpen's not there, or they can't add on to bringing more guys home to keep increasing the lead. They either get to the pitcher early, and it's in the first 2 innings that they do that, and then in innings 3, 4, and 5, they start to stall, and in 6 they fall flat on their face, or they fall flat on their face for the first 4 innings. They wait to get to the bullpen, and they're already down 2 or 3 runs, so they're pressing at the plate, they're swinging at bad opportunities, and sometimes they connect, and most times they don't, because baseball is a game that's based on failure anyways. And they get into this hole, and then they end up losing games like 3-0 or 5-4 or 4-1, 5-3 like they have. So I don't know. It's just I don't know when it's going to end. I would hope it would maybe end today because
if
the kid they're facing has an ERA of 7.
Outside of today, is there Ben? Do you see any other time they have a chance to win outside of today, or is it just kind of going to be like a downhill spiral?
It's basically
they could win on Monday.
They could win on Monday if they don't beat the Blue Jays. I don't see them having a chance. They have a possibility of the Rays on the 9th, 10th, or 11th, but beyond that, I don't see it.
I mean,
they could go all the way to the All-Star break on the 17th.
Well, I mean, here's the thing: Quintana is good, but he's 6-6. I mean, I know win records don't mean everything to pitchers, but I mean, also you could maybe
wins mean nothing.
I know that's what I'm saying. It's a very loose stat because obviously you need good defensive help around you and you need offensive run support. So I get it, but I mean, maybe hopefully because Cole Hamels is struggling. I mean, it's not the same Cole Hamels that we've seen in years past. So maybe on Saturday, July 7th, they maybe beat Hamels. And I mean, Cologne is still, even though he's crafty, he's still beatable. So
he is, but the dude, oh man, he's actually having a good year this year.
But that's what I'm saying. Like,
Cologne.
I mean, he's great. Don't get me wrong. He is a great pitcher, and you have to tip the cap to the guy. But he's also not this unbeatable person. Like, he will have off days because he's 48.
But my point is, who do the Tigers have to drive in runs right now?
Nobody.
They have Nick Castellanos, and then they have no one else. That's one of the reasons that they keep Victor Martinez in a prime spot in the lineup. Candelario is finally kind of hitting his slump this year, where he's not really hitting all that great right now. You're looking at Nico Gooderum is one of your better hitters right now, and like all due respect to the kid, like he's having a really good season. They just don't have the firepower that they once did, and I mean, you saw it for a while; it was working, but I mean, I remember I was working yesterday, and I just look at my phone. Tigers scored the first run in yesterday's game against Toronto.
Yep.
Dixon Machado grounded out into a double play in order to score a run. So it's like, that's kind of the state we're in right now. They're literally so desperate to score runs that they score them on double plays. And I mean, I know that's one anecdotal time that it happened, but like, it just seems like those are the kinds of runs this Tigers team are going to have to score. And I'm not even necessarily endorsing small ball. I'm more of saying that this team was never going to score many runs. And I think you're finally seeing it catch up to them. They were kind of playing way above their head, some of these guys.
Oh, sure. I mean, that I think was going to be kind of obvious. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, that's the thing, though. I mean, you're right. There's not a lot of guys that can drive in runs. I mean, Castellanos is doing his best, and I've said it before. You can see why Dave Dombrowski, even though, yes, Castellanos does need defensive help, but you can tell why Dave Dombrowski hung up on people when they called, hey, what would it take to get Nick Castellanos, from you guys? And then you just hear the dial tone. Like, you're starting to see like the method to the madness a little bit with Dave Dombrowski on why some guys were not like untouchable. But you have guys like, James McCann, who's kind of tailing off. Victor Martinez, while he has, I guess you can say, a now respectable average with now this swinger like boomer bust type of hitting style that's happening now lately. An average like 245 is not the best, but it's not great. But he's not doing anything because he's hitting into the shift like at the worst rate in all of Major League Baseball. I wish I was being grandiose about that and obtuse, but I'm not. It's a fact. Leonys Martin is streaky. He's either really good or really bad.
He's a career like 228 hitter.
Well, right.
He's hitting way above his head all season.
I
feel like, people got a little ahead of themselves when they said they got a good find. I'm like, he'll come back down to earth. He's definitely already better than advertised, though. Leonys Martin has been a nice addition to this lineup for sure, though.
He has, but you also have guys like Jacoby Jones, who's boomer bust. I mean, he's streaky. He either, clutches up or he's non-existent. So
yeah, he's a project guy for sure.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a reason why last year he got sent down to Toledo to work on his swing after it was 35 games in Detroit. Like, he's an incomplete player. So it's a very valid question when you ask, where's this offense going to come from? Because I honestly do not know. Like, it's going to come through, hopefully. I mean, for a while it was coming through the bottom of the order with guys like Jacoby Jones and Jose Iglesias and guys like that were picking up the top of the order, but now it's just peppered in where it's part of the top of the order. Now it's part of the bottom of the order. The middle order, doesn't really do anything. And this is where you're really going to see, at least I think, how good Ron Gardenhire really is, because this team needs to find a way to break it loose. And I totally believe small ball is the answer. And he's been more of a small ball coach with this team, but you have to take risks on the base paths. You have to steal more bases. You have to get guys moving, and you have to find a way to manufacture runs because they're not going to come at the plate. They're going to come.
The problem
on the base
is
pass.
You got to get people on base in order to get them to steal bases, and that's been a huge problem for the Tigers.
It has.
They do not draw walks well as a team. I'm trying to get their seasonal rank, but I just wanted to bring this up before we moved on from Nick Castellanos. We're kind of distancing a little bit, but this was last week a graphic that was played on FSD. In the last 162 games during the Cleveland game last week, there are 6 players in the AL that hit for over 300 average, had at least 25 home runs, and had at least 100 RBIs in the last 162 games. Those 6 players were Adrian Beltre, Jose Ramirez, Eddie Rosario, Carlos Correa, Mike Trout, and Nicholas Castellanos.
Yeah.
Those are 6 very, very, very good names. I just wanted to give Nick some credit because, man, it's just been – I didn't think that he would eventually develop into this. He's been on the team for 6 years, which is crazy to think about. So it's kind of nice.
It is. Do you guys have any thoughts on the Tigers' losing streak, winning streak? I know.
Well, if you look at ESPN, they have an actual statistic of Tigers have 223 walks this season so far. Their opponents have 273. Their strikeouts are at 666, and their opponents at 618. So their strikeouts are way up. Their walks are down. I mean, basically, they have to start getting butts on the base pads. That's the only way to fix this. You're right. I mean, they're a very fast team. They're a young team, but they don't have the hitters of old that can just go up and just hit one out of the park anytime they can because people are afraid of them. Candelario's getting there, Goodrum's getting there, but they cannot do it right now. They're a lot better than they should be, and I mean, everybody took that for granted this season.
Yeah. Go ahead, Pat, because I want to look up something. So go ahead.
Yeah, I was just looking up some stats too. I mean, look, they're below average in ERA, and that's just overall ERA. If you want to get into relief pitching ERA, they're even lower on that list. So this is a team that just doesn't have a lot of room for error, and I don't want to be that guy because I'm a huge Tigers fan, so I love seeing them win. But it's like when they were hovering around 500, I feel like anybody who didn't realize it was fool's gold, you should be kind of laughing at yourselves a little bit because that's always what this team is going to do, This team isn't supposed to win. In some ways of thinking, I'm not saying they're right or wrong, but in some schools of thought, people think that they should be losing right now. You only want a couple guys to stand out so you can get rid of them at the trade deadline and so you can look ahead, because realistically, I mean, I know this isn't exactly the thing the casual fan wants to hear, but these Tigers are playing for the 2020 season right now. They're looking at these guys that they're coming in the draft like, oh, hey, I wonder if he's going to be my teammate when we're any good. I wonder if I'm going to be on this team when we're any good. You know, I'm sure it's not exactly, and then maybe that's why it seems like they're having so much more fun, is because I feel like for the first time in probably a decade, there is virtually zero pressure for this Tigers team to win.
Yeah.
I can't remember the last time where I had zero expectations for this team. And maybe that's why, as a fan, I do feel like I'm having more fun in years, because in years past, I'm just like, oh my God, I'm always stressed out because they're never winning. They're never ahead in the division by as much as they should be. But, you know, I feel like expectations dictate a lot of whether that's where we're getting the quote unquote fun to watch Tigers narrative is literally just based on our own expectations.
Oh, totally. Yeah, because if you have low expectations and, you know, the team is overachieving from what you think, then yeah. I mean, because everyone heard the term rebuild. They're like, oh, this team's going to suck. And then sure enough, yeah, this team's fighting. And I remember even saying early in the season, because when it was the first time they faced Cleveland, yes, this team will fight. This team has a lot of fight in it. But it's like all you have to do is just stick out your arm, and they're still swinging their hands. But they're like, you're just like, yeah, no, that's cute. You're not hitting me. Sorry. Like that's what the Tigers are going to be all year. They're going to be a team that, yes, is still going to fight, still going to battle. But, yeah, against good teams, they're going to be that little kid that's at arm's length that's trying to swing and get to you with all their might, but they're just falling in quicksand and not going to get to it. But, Chris, it sounded like you wanted to say something, maybe.
Oh, no, I really didn't have anything to add. As you guys know, I'm not big into baseball, so you know what you guys are saying is making a lot of sense, though. I'll put it like that.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I'm in the same boat, but you guys know your stuff.
No,
so.
because there's definitely franchises where, and I agree with Mike. Like, there's definitely like a value in having low expectations. Is that, you know, it makes sense why, as a Tigers fan, objectively, because I've heard, as a non-Tigers fan for the last 10 years, I've heard the narrative of just frustration. Now, you know, I come into this conversation and, you know, I'm hearing, oh, you know, it's actually fun. It's this, it's that, you know, they're a young team, they're scrapping, you know, it makes a lot of sense. You know, it reminds me a lot of what Philly did in the NBA, where they weren't good, but they were fun because they played hard. And they were fun to watch, just like Brooklyn was this year. You know,
Right.
So it's something in sports, and I think it's just, you know, where the Tigers are at, and it sounds like, from what you guys say, that they're on the right path at least.
Oh yeah,
I mean, they are. They have guys within the system. I mean, here's the thing too. When people are like, "Oh, bring up Kristen Stewart," do yourself a favor. Go down to Toledo. It's cheap food, cheap tickets, and actually watch the kid play. He is not yet a major league player, and there's no spot on this team for Christian Stewart just yet. He would be at best a bench guy, and you don't want him in the outfield because he's not very good defensively. He's not.
I feel like we're party poopers because I totally agree. I feel like we bring this up anytime we bring up Tigers baseball. Just like, look, Christian Stewart wouldn't play if he got called up. He needs to be just playing. Getting some minutes, you know, he needs to be on the field playing, and he's not going to get that major league team.
Well, yeah, no, he's not. He's a kid that needs to. I mean, and that's the tough part, especially with September call-ups, because I think he'll be a part of that in September. But these guys need reps, and he's a kid who, yes, at the plate attacks very, very well, but he's also a boomer bust hitter. Like, if he's not making solid contact and pulling the baseball, he's not guaranteed to get on base, and he'll strike out. Like, he's a mix of a power and a contact hitter, obviously leaning more towards power, but when he does, he's pulling baseballs. He's not spraying the ball at all, and when you watch him in the outfield, he looks lost. Like, he looks terrible. That's why, like, I almost wonder if the spot for him, and it seems bad, but it would take a couple of moves. If you want to keep John Hicks's bat alive and well, you either keep him at DH or you keep him at first base because obviously Cabrera's not there, and when Cabrera gets back, even though Cabrera likes to play every day, you move him to DH and you just say at some point at the year goodbye to Victor Martinez, because the only way Christian Stewart has a role in this team is if the kid turns from an outfielder into a first baseman, because in first base all you're required to do is very minimal defense and run to the bag and cover the bag. He's a kid who cannot judge the outfield. And I'm not saying he can't be better in the outfield, because obviously you're in AAA. You're going to be working on outfield drills every single day. You're going to get better, and I'm not limiting his opportunity to get better. I'm just thinking that maybe he's going to be a first baseman because he's a guy who has more power to his bat than anything else, and it requires you, even though, yeah, the famous quote in Moneyball, playing first base is easy. Tell him, Walsh, it's very hard. You have that drop, but it requires less effort to play first base than any other position in the field. So that's the only way that maybe he finds a way onto this roster is if you do convert him into first base, which, guess what, if you are, then he's still not coming up anytime soon because he's going to have to learn in AAA how to play first base anyways. So, I don't...
I do...
That's what I'm saying. I don't get why people are like, oh, send him up. It's like, why? He's a major project even at his natural positions. Go ahead.
So, and you can say, bringing Miggy out of the field and making John Hicks first baseman, you would see a dip in defense at first base.
You would.
You've seen it since Miggy's gone on the DL. While I don't disagree with you that's that's the easiest defensive position probably. At the same time, you're seeing that John Hicks is not as good of a first baseman as Miguel Cabrera. And while we do think of Miguel Cabrera as an older, slower guy, he still does play a pretty league average to slightly above the league average first base.
Oh yeah, no, he totally does.
There is some. Well, I just wanted to bring that up and say that it's possible that Christian Stewart could be a terrible defensive first baseman. And that can hurt the team as well, unfortunately, because I feel like sometimes we kind of forget that Miggy, because he's kind of seen as a slower guy, we forget that he's not actually a bad defensive first baseman, because sometimes I'm guilty of it too. I just kind of write it off, but really statistics and kind of the eye test too kind of tells us that he's probably closer to average than we give him credit for.
Well, and you also have to look
That's all.
You have to look at two. You got two things here. Miggy also is that wily veteran who will sit there and mess with you on the base pads and every once in a while distract you, and you might get an out that way, or you might get a half a second. And I'm just saying that's got to be there. I go back to Major League and all that, but the movie, but that's just where I learned it from. But another thing on ESPN, the website I'm looking at, you got a major stat that you got to look at is home runs for the Tigers are 65 this season. The highest they have right now is Candelario with 12, Nicholas Castellanos with 11.
Yeah.
The rest of their opponents are at 102. Their RBIs are 317 to 381. They are not getting the runs that they need. Their pitchers are sometimes doing the job, but they're not getting the run support. If they can get some runs, they can win some more games.
Yeah, and I know
that's the hardest thing. That's the easiest thing to say, but it's where we're at this point.
I know that's something that Pat
brought
up too. Yeah,
just totally.
That runs. You gotta generate more runs. But again, with what you guys are saying too, it sounds like this team is it's still going to be a little bit of time before everything gets to quote unquote pitcher perfect.
Sure.
Do you think since there's so much time that Castellanos is going to be in their plans for the near future?
I think he has to be.
You don't think you could get
he's their
great
only
deal for him?
He's their corner piece.
But yeah, no, I agree with what Pat just said. I think he's still a part of a young nucleus that is a cornerstone of your organization. And here's the thing: we know he's a liability defensively. Every team in Major League Baseball knows that as well. You're not going to give up top prospects for that guy.
If you're putting him in the numbers that that statistic that Mike brought up.
Well, yeah,
the last 162 games, he's a top 10. Top 10
offensively. Offensively, yes.
Absolutely.
But defensively, he's not even middle of the road. So I'm
trying to look up that.
No, go ahead. Because I want to know. But because in all seriousness, if I'm a GM, yeah, the bat is tantalizing. The bat is amazing, but I'm not giving up like my top 2 or 3 prospects for him.
Not for a guy who only plays one side of the game really well.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's.
You mean like JD Martinez?
Right.
Well, but JD Martinez, I think, plays a better outfield than Nick Castellanos, and I'm not. I know that I'm not saying that means anything because it really doesn't. Because we're it's like, you know, what's better, like this crappy thing or this crappy thing? It's like, well, they're both bad.
The head shaking has
better
begun
defensively than Martinez. The eye test alone, but I need to look at the numbers on.
I was gonna say I would need to see those numbers because
I'm looking it up because I'd actually disagree with you, Ben. I think JD Martinez is the worst right fielder in the league.
Yes.
Yeah.
We got Phil here looking him up too. So
JD Martinez so far this season has 97 hits. He has 25 home runs.
Right, but we're worried about fielding.
Oh, well, I don't have that.
See, that's the thing. We're worried about fielding.
You dropped the ball, kid.
How many games has Martinez played defensively this year?
How many what?
How many games has Martinez played defensively this year?
I would have to look that up on the fly.
32.
He's played DH
32.
a lot. So yeah.
Pab, do you have the stats?
He's played 32 games in the outfield, and he has 0 errors this year.
Oh, hey. There we go.
He has 1 assist in right field.
He has an outfield assist. There you go. Maybe I'm onto something. No,
I disagree. I still disagree.
I'm teasing.
You got to look at it this way: if the Tigers are going to do anything at the trade deadline, they have to sell. But
totally, they're
what
not
gonna
buying
sell?
anybody.
Yeah, no.
The difference
they're going to sell Shane Green, they might get Fulmer. But what else are they going to sell? They're going to sell nothing else.
No, you don't sell Michael Fulmer because they blew their chance. He's at the lowest trade value since they've had him. There's no reason to get rid of him now. You're not getting shit back for him.
Well, I'm saying if you have a chance, those are the 2 players that you might get something for.
Oh no, you're going to get stuff for Lariano. You're going to get stuff for. I call him Fears, but Mike Fires.
I like that.
He's a trade asset. So there's 2 guys there just through pitching. You still have, like I said, even though we've been talking about with Castellanos, he's kind of like how Fulmer was last year. He has value, but do you really want to get rid of him? I still say no.
I don't want to get rid of him, and I know he wants to stay here.
Well, right.
He's been on record saying
I'd love to get rid of Leonis Martin. I'd love to get rid of Jose Iglesias.
I was going to say Martin and Iglesias would be the other 2 that would round out the trade block if you're the Tigers. Like those 4 guys, you basically let the league know, hey, these are guys that are available. What are you going to offer? Like those are the 4 that I can see not being Tiger. I mean, Iglesias is not. I don't think is going to be a Tiger next year, anyways, because he's going to demand money because he's in the last year of his contract. So, and you have so many infielders and especially at the shortstop position, which I think they're doing it just for the athletic purpose of having a good range for infielders, but you're not missing really any quality depth at shortstop. So, either way, Iglesias is gone, but obviously you want to do. With Iglesias, what you did with JD Martinez, at least get something back so you're not holding the bag of emptiness at the end of the year when he's definitely not coming back. But
exactly.
Yeah, so like that's the thing though too. Like with this losing streak, it hurts. Wait until like middle of July, end of July. You're gonna see another one like this because you're going to be auctioning off pieces, and those pieces are still still very valuable pieces to this team, and this team is going to get worse after the trade deadline. So,
yeah, I just want to finish this whole defensive JD Martinez versus Nick Castellanos. I'm just going to base it off of this year, all right?
Go for it.
Because
mow me into the ground. Call me an idiot. I don't care. Go for it.
He has played 32 total games in the outfield, JD Martinez.
Yes.
47 games at DH. In 32 games, he's made 1 error, 1 assist, or 0 errors, 1 assist, and that assist was on a double play, it looks like.
Nice. Okay. I'm looking
his
better.
BIS defensive runs saved above average altogether this year is -7 in the outfield.
Oh, God. Okay.
It takes more time than we have probably to kind of explain that, but it's just a general measure of somebody looking at whether he should have made the play or he shouldn't have, and he's at a -7 in 32 games. Nicholas Castellanos,
Okay.
in right field, has played 77 games.
So double.
In those 77 games, what was that?
I said so double. He's played more games at right field than
Yeah.
JD. So it's double. Yeah.
He has 5 assists
Okay.
from right field, 2 errors, and his BIS defensive runs saved is -12. So what you're really looking at is roughly the same outfielder.
Well, that's
if you're just basing it on this year,
Well, right.
Nick Castellanos has only got more because he's played more games.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, they're both bad. So you're looking at
Yeah.
hey, what's good? This bad product or this bad product? I don't care. They're both bad. Well, you have to pick one.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll pick this. So yeah, no, it's just
Pretty much.
yeah. That's where we kind of are. But because there's about a couple minutes left in the
about
show.
5 minutes left.
Well, 5 minutes if we want to take it all the way to the top of the hour.
Okay, fine. If we're gonna cut it off, then I can give you guys 3 minutes.
3 minutes works. Anything else really quick that you guys want to touch on that we may have missed, or you want to call me an idiot,
Well,
unattractive?
did you
I don't
guys
care.
Well, only because you opened the invite. You're an idiot.
Ben, you're a moron.
I wanted to bring this up in the ramble, and I
Do it.
didn't get a chance. But did anyone see the video of those criminals getting caught at the gas station? And the lady tried to escape, and she went on, tried to go through the roof, and her boyfriend's getting tased and stuff, and she falls to the roof on this aisle thing.
No,
You guys haven't seen that?
No.
What didn't
Anyway,
Barstool do that?
I don't know
Or
if
they
did
showed
or
it.
not. I don't know if they did it or not, but I seen it all over my Facebook, all over my Twitter, and I was dying watching. I watched it at least 5 times already.
Because
Damn.
there's a wild video with Barstool. There's a wild video of a guy escaping a courthouse.
Yeah, no.
New York City inmates trying to escape prison. So I would have to find this video. I've not
You
seen
gotta
that one
watch
yet.
it. It's hysterical. The girl tries to get away and just falls right through the ceiling, right on the aisle of candy bars and stuff, and it just looks so painful.
Okay, I regret doing this, but I'm actually going to give Barstool Sports a website visit.
Oh boy.
All right.
But
no. Well,
because I
just wanted to see
was
if you
gonna say,
guys.
Yeah,
go ahead.
no, I was going to say I have to go to the website because I have to see this video if it's that funny.
You got to go type in "girl falls through ceiling," and it's the first one that I see on Google.
All right, Pat Bob, we got a few
All right,
moments
well-
left.
Go, Pat.
Well, while Ben's looking that up, I just wanted to see what you guys thought of the whole Jameis Winston suspension.
Yes,
with what everything's been going on.
Yes, we didn't talk
that
about
Uber driver.
that. No, thank you. No,
Yeah.
that's something that's. I think he should be suspended 6 games,
The kid's a jerk. In all honesty,
and he doesn't even give an apology.
No,
He's just like, "Oh, I'm sorry for putting you in that situation."
no, you're not.
It's like okay, but
Didn't him and his friends adamantly deny that
Sick-
Jameis was in the very
Yeah.
back of the van? It wasn't even possible.
totally.
And then they changed their mind, and then they changed their story, and then there was a third person who agreed with what the Uber driver said. So yeah.
Oh, all right, Ben found the video.
I told you, it's great.
Ben found the video.
That is amazing. I'm sorry, but that is awesome.
You think she's got this ingenuity? You're like, yes, she's gonna get away.
Oh
It's
my
kinda cool.
God.
Then boom, camera shifts.
Oh my God.
He cracks her
Well, it's
back
right
on
after
the
the
aisle.
news promo, this is your news with Bob Jones and Sarah, whatever, and then all of a sudden the very first thing in the video is you see her drop from the ceiling like it's an episode of Mediocre Bad Guys or something.
Oh,
It's just-
jeez.
You
oh
gotta
my
watch
God.
the whole thing. I don't know if you've.
I'm
watching
going
right
to,
now,
yeah.
But you can see her and her boyfriend getting chased through the thing by this one security guy or police officer.
Here
Then
she
the
goes.
police
Yep, she's
officer goes
crawling
after
through.
the guy.
And then she falls through the top.
It's hilarious.
I love how she walks up though, hey, nothing happened. She brushed herself off, I'm fine.
She's like, no one's seen me.
Yeah, no one saw me. But that music
That's
means
incredible.
that it's really, really good. Coming up next here on CRBRadio.com, if you're listening live, is Mitten Sports Talk with Jeremy Stover, Jack Van Ash, and maybe Eric Lehman. He was there last week, but we don't know. If you are not listening on CRB Radio, you can definitely catch the podcast on SportsRadioDetroit.com. If you want to find our podcasts, you can. It's very, very simple. Go to Apple, just search Sports Radio Detroit. It will be there. Leave a comment, a like, give us good reviews so other people can find us. If you're not there, you can go to Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify. We're the only podcast network that's on Spotify, so you can find us basically anywhere where podcasts are. So go ahead.
Mike, I just want you to get your tire checked, get it all fixed, and just forget about that image that you had.
Gee.
Yes, that's Man. Feel bad for you, Mike, but we'll see you. There will be a show next Saturday, and hopefully you guys have a great 4th of July. There's going to be more shows coming out throughout the week, obviously, laugh tracks. Spinning the Wheels might do one. I don't know, because the development camp happened, so maybe you'll hear Jason with that. Pistons SRD, always going to have good stuff with Papchek and Chris Platty. Really glad Chris is doing that because he's excellent with basketball. More articles from Philip Lutz are coming down the pipe. We have those pending, and yeah, it's going to be a great week of content that we always have, and we'll catch you here live on the Road Show next Saturday. And like we said, have a happy 4th of July.
Be safe. Don't do anything I wouldn't do, and if you do, name it after Ben.
Shout out one of my favorite albums ever, Isaiah Rashad, Sun's Tirade. I'm wearing the merchandise. Go listen to it if you haven't. Great hip-hop album.
All right, well,
Pat?
I got to go, guys. I think I hear some more squeaky beds.
Yeah, on that note, we'll let you go. Thank you for watching and listening on Facebook Live. We'll be back next week. Happy 4th of July to all. And Mitten Sports Talk coming up next.